All right, welcome everybody. Live from DC, it's Scaling Using Certifications live webinar. Hold on one second as we're getting things set up. Good stuff. All right. So welcome everyone to our live stream today, where we're going to be discussing how to scale using your certifications. And we are here in DC in a studio getting ready to welcome not just myself, but we've got some esteemed guests coming today that's going to share with you the tricks, tips, tactics, all the things that they've learned when it comes to scaling their businesses. As you know, we're now in the new fiscal year, right? So October the 1st starts the new fiscal year, and we want to give you all the ammunition that you need to be successful going into the 2026 year. So we're happy to have you guys here. We're happy to discuss with you some of the strategies that I've learned, some of the case studies for some of the people that I've worked with. And again, we want to put this information in your hands, give you an arsenal of tools that you need in order to get started. So first of all, I want to say thank you to today's sponsors, Encore Funding, Polera Marza, and OpenGov IQ. My name is Eric Coffie. Welcome to Scaling Using Certifications event today. I'm going to show you the art of getting more contracts in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort over and over again. But I want to warn you, this isn't a promise that you're going to get rich fast, fabulous, fabulously rich, or any other variation of the items. Everyone is different. Scaling your federal contracts, like anything else in life worth doing, involves risk. And most people do nothing at all, so results may vary. So if you see text like this at the bottom of the screen, it's a reminder to you of that fact. And this is why I make free content every day to help you, the entrepreneur, scale your business and make your results good as I possibly can. And in the spirit of that, we aim to create the biggest free GovCon certifications event to help entrepreneurs like you and business owners like yourself that have ever been put together and maybe in history. We'll see. But I'm no saint. I want to make money just like you. And so I do all of this so I can someday invest in your company and scale it. Because scaling companies like yours by installing new methods and techniques is how I make money. To give you an idea, let me tell you something just really insane right now. As a kid, I scaled my first partner's business from $50K a year in federal contracts to over $5 million. For context, his company's annual revenue right now is over $200 million. And I used that money and started my own construction company, Evankoff. And so I took that company, Evankoff LLC, and we scaled it to more than $10 million in its lifespan. We created a business development consulting agency, and at our peak, our clients' combined revenue was over $320 million. Me saying this may create envy in some, anger in others, skepticism in most, but inspire a select few. And you, the inspired business owner, are who I made scaling with certifications for. Also, why I choose to make it my mission to make federal contracting education accessible to everyone. Cool, now that you're all caught up, but you're not here for my story. You're here to learn how to take the next steps in yours. And here's what I'll show you today. How certifications can help you get more customers in less time over and over again. And when that happens, your business scales as fast as you can handle. With that being said, I know they work. And I know they work because of these two truths. I've used certifications my whole life. They got me to where I'm at. And I thank them for that. So I know they work from experience, not theory. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver for two types of people. All right? The up-and-coming entrepreneurs. So for example, you need to put money, you need to put the oxygen mask on and take care of yourself and your family. I promise you, for those persons, help you get closer to that. Today, for free, right? That's a goal. So you're going to be, if you just wait until the end, you'll see that I can deliver on that promise. And then two, the business owner, the players and money makers, I'm going to make you your market in the best interest to help you help everyone else. And if you join me, I'll show you how we can accomplish our goals together. Here's what we're going to cover in our short time here. Number one, what you get for being here. Number two, what's killing your business. Number three, one thing that makes businesses easily scalable. Number four, how to use it today. Let's start with the first. What do you get for being here? Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Am I really going to give you everything here live today? The secrets that decision makers at the SBA once taught me when I was younger coming up. Completely for free? Well, the answer is 1,000% absolutely yes. But I can tell you what it is yet. You'll have to stay until the end to find out. But so you know it's legit, this is something that I will sell at the end of this live stream. I'll tell you how to get it for free, so watch out. Now to the main event. I don't expect you to take my word on scaling. I'm going to prove it to you. Anyone can make promises, but very few people have proof. To do that, I make sure everything that I've created walks their walk and talks the talk. And everything I've done up to this point, I've kept proof at the center. So they will not only tell you what to do, but they prove what amazing things happen if you do it. So if proof that scaling in the GovCon space exists and has been proven, the next thing to figure out is how to scale it. But instead of asking, how do we scale it? To get the best answer, let's use the Charlie Munger taught us inversion. All right, and so what Charlie Munger does is he says, how do we kill one? So what's killing your business today? When we ask, how do we kill your business, right? There's only one thing that we say, don't try. According to a study by the American Small Business Chamber of Commerce, we have a decline in small business participation since 2008. What percentage do you think small business participation has declined since 2008? I want everybody to take a guess. For those of you that may be in the chat, what do you think percentages have declined since 2008? 10%? 20%? 25%? Okay, not even close. Try 2 times that. According to the American Small Business Chamber of Commerce, there's been a 49% decline. The number of small firms securing federal contracts has dropped from 144,000 in 2008 to just 73,000 in 2023. But if there's less participation, then that means there's less dollars spent, right? Hell no. What percentage do you think total federal spending on small business contracts has increased? Does anybody want to take a guess? Anybody in the chat would like to take a guess? What percentage do you think has increased dollar spending since that same time frame where the number of businesses has been reduced? What do you think has been spent increasing? 25%? 50%? Someone put 65%. Someone wrote it's in the billions. Someone wrote 90%? Not even close. Try 3x that number. 280% increase. Total federal spending on small business contracts soared from $62 billion in 2008 to $175 billion in 2004. Okay, so it says the sound is not working. We'll check on that. Okay. All right, so we're checking to make sure that everybody's getting the information. So we just want to make sure of that while we keep going. All right, now, all of this data tells us one of 2 things. Yeah, the Zoom right now is not working. So everyone come over to the live stream here. Thanks, Richard, for that. So now, all this data tells us one of 2 things. It's not that you suck, and it's not that you're dumb. either. It's that you have not tried, or you don't know how to try. And if you're either one of these people, I can help. And that brings us to number 3. One thing that makes businesses easily scalable. Now, we've hit our first roadblock. We've learned that our main problem is not trying or not knowing how to try. But what about other people trying? That's called competition. So what is competition? I mean, most of us, we hear the word competition. What do you think when you hear the word competition, right? What do you guys think when you hear the word competition? I know for me, when I hear the word competition, I think it's me against this person, that person against me, or maybe there may be like a struggle, right, between two of us. What do you guys think when you hear the word competition? So competition in business is literally the rivalry between different companies offering similar products or services to the same target customers, aiming to gain market share, increase revenue, and build customer loyalty. Or it's people who are actively trying to get the same thing as you. So the question for everybody watching today, do you want more competition or less competition? Why don't you put a 1 in the chat for those of you who want more competition? And then let's put a 2 in the chat for those of you who want less competition. I'll wait. Where are all the ones at? Who wants more competition? Well, okay, there you go. Somebody put 1, I want more competition. Linda says I want more competition. Nice. Okay, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I personally want less competition. This leads us to our main question. How do you get less competition? All right, take a guess. How do we get less competition? Anybody have any ideas? How do you get less competition? Okay, so, for me, when I think about how to get less competition, I think about building a moat around myself. So for me, when I think about building a moat, some of the ways that I build a moat around myself is, right, I can get special, like I can ISO certification, okay? That creates a small moat between me. I can get a facilities clearance, right? That creates a small moat around me. I can have staff that are veterans. I can also have staff that have top secret clearances. I can have staff members who worked in certain program offices before, right? So all of these things creates less competition because my company's competition are not doing those activities, right? So what are some of the things that we can do, right? So like, for example, Nicole said certifications. Certifications, that's a great one. Niche product or service. That's another great idea, right? Again, correct. So barriers. So think about, Tavin says differentiators, but what are some of those differentiators, right? What are some of the differentiators that you guys may have? So how about this? What are some of the differentiators that you watching this today have that set you apart from the competition, right? Let's give people some ideas. What are some of the, okay, for me in construction, we think about, right, we may have a $5 million single bonding limit, right? So a $5 million single bonding limit would put us in the top 5% of businesses around the country, right? So 95% of businesses don't have $5 million single bonding limit, right? Other things, I work with people who have facilities clearances, right? That puts you in the top 1%, if not 0.5% of companies who have a FCO or facilities clearance. Because why? It's challenging to get. You have to get sponsors. Another company has to actually allow you to come in and get that facilities clearance, right? But think about today, right? I mean, think about what is the topic for today? Scaling with certifications. So what are some obvious differentiators that you may have that allows you to get less competition? There you go, Gene, right? PMI, CSM, CPMAI, right, exactly. Experience, right? But what specifically in experience are we talking about? Right? Exactly, professional search. Maybe you may be an underground utilities contractor. Maybe you may be a licensed electrician, a licensed plumber. All of these things, right, leaves out competition. Now, you can obviously eliminate them, but that's illegal. Or you could get a certification, right? And so we kind of mentioned, right, that coming up to this premise, and that's perfectly legal. Certifications, correct. So what is a certification? What are they? A formal recognition from the U.S. Small Business Administration that validates a small business's eligibility for special contracting opportunities with the federal government, allowing them to compete for exclusive set-aside and sole source contracts. So I like this person put in the chat, I want to get away, less competition from Jason White students and other people like them, get away from the rat race and to the bottom pricing competition. And that is very well said, and I appreciate that comment. Correct. We want to escape the rat race. And that's what we're here to talk about, because a lot of times people are telling you to do activities that put you at the bottom of the barrel rat race, which doesn't allow you to grow your business, scale your business, or actually even have a business. It's still hustle mentality type of stuff. So that's what we're talking about today, is scaling, because a lot of people talk about getting a contract, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with getting a contract, but we want to talk about scaling. That's what we're here to discuss today. So the differentiator for us is, how do you not just get one contract, but how do you get multiple contracts? How do you, what we call land and expand, start getting the agencies and offices to start calling you back? How do you get the government people to call your phone with opportunities? And we'll talk about some of that going forward today. So now let's look at what is a set-aside and sole source. Yeah. So a set-aside contract is a government contract that is reserved for exclusive competition among specific categories of businesses. These contracts can be better competitive where two or more eligible businesses bid or sole source, where only one business is deemed capable of fulfilling the contract requirements. So let's talk about that. Let's go back. Let's stay on that for a minute, because I think a lot of times we don't know exactly what a set-aside is. I mean, we hear the term set-asides, but we don't really know what a set-aside is. So that is the definition of set-aside. So when I think about set-asides, what I think about is that the government has taken a requirement and they've said that only this category of businesses can actually fulfill the requirement. And then within the category of businesses that can fulfill the requirement, that could be any one of the certs, right? Now, sole source. A lot of us hear the term sole source, but I have students that even though they know the term sole source, they've never actually gotten a sole source. They've heard it loosely, but they don't know what that means. So what that means for me in actual layman's terms is that the government has an opportunity or requirement, and then what they do is they actually call you, your company, or send you an email, and they say, hey, let's pick on Richard Thomas. Hey, Richard, this particular opportunity we have available, your company meets all of the requirements. We think it'd be a good fit for you, and that we would like to make an offer to give this opportunity directly to your company if you are ready, willing, and able, you're capable of actually operating and fulfilling this particular requirement. That's a sole source. So the government has a requirement, and they want you, the company, you're the only one that actually does the requirement. So when we look at set-asides, that is where you go into a pool of vendors that are in your same category, where, again, you're still competing, but you're competing on a smaller vendor pool versus a sole source where they're coming directly to you for the direct contract. So even to make it even more simple, a set-aside contract is a job the government needs done, but only certain businesses are allowed to do it. Other times, the government picks just one business because they think only one can do it right, and that's a sole source. So it's interesting, I see people commenting, right? They thought that you had to be in a specific program or on a schedule to get a sole source, and that's why we want to break down a lot of these myths today. So what did we just learn? Number one, certifications will cut down my competition. Number two, in some cases, I will have no competition. And since 2008, there's almost 50% less small business contractors. And the budget has increased 280%. Now, I started in 2008. So I started during the time where we had twice as many companies in this business, and we had a third of the spending. So when I got started in 2008, right, people say, well, Eric, you know, back in those days, things were different. They were different. We had more competition and less small business spending. And so it was harder because, right, if you imagine double the number of people in this space, at the time, 8A enrollment was at an all-time high. The number of businesses in 8A was close to 8,000 businesses in this 8A program. Now, in other categories like women-owned business or HUBZone, they didn't have as many companies in those programs, but I wasn't competing in those programs either way, so that did not affect me. But in the primary program that I discussed, where I've been able to leverage and scale and grow, we had to compete, it seems like against every other company was a certified business. And so we were able to learn these certification models, which allowed us to become the incumbent, which allowed us to come into a facility and automatically start winning contracts right out the gate, which allowed us to take over and start getting the types of projects we wanted, the types of teaming partners we wanted, and allowed us to start scaling our businesses. And not just my business, the businesses of several of my friends. And so today, we all continue to leverage these different certification models to scale our businesses, and also we teach them to other people out here listening. So what do you think is one of the things that makes businesses easily scalable? Certifications. Scaling certifications is how my third company, Evakov Construction, went from $96,000 a year to over $2 million a year. It's how my first YouTube client, when I first started teaching on YouTube back in 2017, 2018, I met them, they were doing $200,000 in federal contracts to over $11 million in 2 years and to over $7 million in 3 years. And to date, they've done over $34 million in contracts over the last 6 years. And this was all before I had any type of training course or personal brand. So with scaling your certifications model, you can get one of four things. Number one, attention, right? Number two, relationships. Number three, execution. Number four, authority. So getting attention really fast, relationships without worrying, execution, to showing them that you know what you're doing, and then becoming authority in a space, right? Showing your value and having the government actually know that you're a trusted, reliable small business that they can come to time and time again for opportunities, without starting with loads of money or past experience. With a scaling certifications model, you get all of this in just a few tweaks for your business. And so that's the concept I'm going to illustrate for the rest of our time together. That being said, let me show you what happens to a normal business when you add in a certification model. So you have your regular small business, and then, right, so a lot of us, we come in, we are just a normal small business. And I think a lot of you probably seen this, right? A lot of you who are here today, who've heard about certifications, who have certifications, you've probably heard the success stories of people who've had these certifications and they grew their businesses to millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and even hundreds of millions of dollars. If you're in the chat and you've heard of people leveraging certifications to scale their business, put 1. If this is not foreign to you, if what I'm saying to you, you're like, yeah, Eric, I've heard of people actually taking these certifications and scaling it, but I never knew how they did it. If you are there and you're watching this, how many people have heard of those leveraging certifications to scale their businesses? Put 1, right? So I say that because I don't want you to think that, like, for example, I didn't create this. I didn't make this up. This came before me, and when I'm done, this is going to still continue to happen. These programs existed long before I came, and they're going to exist long after I came. In fact, if you go to some of my recent content, we talk about this particular administration. They came out with changes in the rules to the FAR that says they're actually re-emphasizing small business certifications. In fact, they made a FAR overhaul this past week, and in the overhaul, they kept all of the small business programs. Now, isn't that great news? When we talk about, because I remember when this administration first came in, and so when the administration first came in, people were saying to me, Eric, they're going to eliminate small businesses. They're going to get rid of all the programs. They're going to cancel everything. And they just released the FAR overhaul. And so now we are 9 months into this current administration. And in fact, they overhauled the FAR to emphasize a lot of the concepts that we're going to be teaching you, right? They've emphasized that they want to do more of that. And so that's why, to me, it doesn't matter which particular administration is coming in. They understand the importance of, right, creating an economic development base. Now, they don't all know the answers to building that base up, right? And I mean, you can't blame them. It's not their jobs. However, they express their concerns for small businesses, and they try to put in programs in place. They try to, I mean, if you were to go on, in fact, I did it this morning. If you were to go on the SBA's website right now, they're talking about the government shutdown and how small businesses are being impacted by this current shutdown. So with that said, the administrations are trying their tactics, their strategies to increase opportunities for all of us out here. Whether we agree with them or we don't like them or we're confused by them, they are putting out their strategies, and the first thing that you'll see with every administration, they appoint an SBA administrator to oversee and manage all of the different programs. And yes, we'll get into some of those specific programs, correct, like the rule of 2, that does apply. So that makes a business easily scalable. Now today, we're going to get into applying this to your specific business today. So how do I apply this to my business today? The purpose of this section is to show you 2 things. 1, scaling with certification strategies works for all industries, even yours. 2, one certification is all you need to get amazing results. I know that a lot of people have 2, 3, 4 certifications even. Let me ask you this. In the chat, how many people have at least 1 certification, right? Put a thumbs up. If you got 1 certification, put a thumbs up in the chat. All right. So how many people have at least 1 certification, right? We're talking about women-owned small business or economically development-owned small business. Again, we're talking about specifically socioeconomic certifications. So if you have women-owned small business, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, 8A, or if you have HUBZone program. How many people have at least 1 certification? Thumbs up. Okay. Thumbs up. I see a couple thumbs up, right? How many people have 2 certifications? 2 certifications. Okay. Anybody has 2 certifications? 2? Give me 2. Give me 2. Push number 2 if you got 2 certifications. Anybody has 3 certifications? Is there anybody has 3 certifications? Maybe you have 8A HUBZone women-owned. Maybe you have veteran women HUBZone. Maybe you have women 8A veteran. Anybody has 3 certifications? Jacob says he has 2 certifications. Shelly, is that thumbs up for 1 or is that 3? You have 3. Anybody has 3 certifications? Okay. No one has 3 certifications. And some of my guest speakers that are coming on later today, they have 2, and some of them have 3 certifications. So they'll be talking about, which certifications made the most impact for them. Shelly said, I couldn't find a thumb. No worries. So today, some of my speakers that are coming on later this afternoon, they're going to be talking about which certifications work for them. And then, they have multiple certifications. I know a couple of them have 2 or 3. And so I want them to talk about, which certifications they were able to leverage, scale, which agencies they talk to, the people they work with, and what were some of the specific strategies. So for those of you who are staying until the afternoon session, where we're going to bring in the speakers and we're going to have a conversation with my 5 guests, they're going to talk about specific strategies that they utilize, that they implemented in their businesses to grow and scale. Someone said they have 4 certifications. So it sounds like to me, I'd be curious. So you have all 4 certifications. You have a veteran-owned business or service-disabled veteran-owned business. You have HUBZone, you have 8A, and you have women-owned business. Is that what I'm hearing? And again, people do have it. People have it. But I will say this, like on the screen, you only need 1 certification to get amazing results. And we're going to prove that to you. So before you think to yourself, I'm not sure if this concept applies to my business, okay, let's talk about that. So there's only 2 categories of business, right? There's small business, and it's based on either income or employees. So what does that mean? That means that you are small based on your revenue numbers, your average annual revenue receipts, or the total number of employees that you have, right? So if you have more than 5,000 or 10,000 employees for your respective industry, then you would be considered a small business. And then we have unrestricted or large. Again, the same criteria holds, right? There's a lot of talk about having a mid-size category. Also, when you look at the commercial space, there's people who actually have, they consider it mid-tier, right? So when you talk to financial people and you talk to the commercial sector, you get small business, you get mid-tier business, and then you get large business. But in the government contracting realm, we only have small, and then we have large, which is also known as unrestricted. And again, the 2 ways that they classify that is based on your industry segment, your employees for that particular industry, or your income in the industry. So for example, yesterday I was on with a podcast guest, and they were considered small business in certain categories and a large business in other categories, just depending on which industry segment happens. So now, why is that important? Because it's important to know that you can actually be considered both small and large. Did anybody know that? Did anybody know that you could be considered both small and large at the same time? Anybody know that? Yes, 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 no, right? So, okay. So now, for small businesses, all right, so we got 1 person that knew that. All right, right. And that's why we're here today, right? That we're here today so that we can help you have all of the information, have all the facts, have all of the resources and the tools so that you can make educated decisions about how to approach scaling, leveraging these certifications. What I find fascinating is how many people, and this is one of my pet peeves with the government, but this is just a personal pet peeve of mine, is that they give out certifications to people, right? But they don't train you how to use and leverage the certifications. And so I have a real issue with that because all of these little nuances, they make a huge difference when you're talking to customers. They're talking clients or prospective teaming partners. Or even if you're thinking about, right, doing a joint venture or a mentor or working with some large businesses, not knowing these little nuances can make the difference between whether they decide to work with you or not work with you. And so that's why for me, understanding all of this stuff, right, has been tremendously invaluable to my life, to the lives of my friends, because every single nuance makes a difference to the person sitting across the table from you. So imagine, right, you're thinking yourself, I do, and I've heard this before from clients. They've said to me, Eric, I think I'm a large business. And when we look at it, we go, no, you're a small business. Because they didn't even understand how to categorize themselves based on these particular standards that I just showed up on the screen. And so what does that do? That leads you to have the presumption that you can't take advantage of the things that we're discussing today, right? It also, if you're looking at partnering with someone, teaming with someone, you can now judge whether or not that particular teaming partner or that mentor of yours is also small or large, and then you can make the appropriate determination decision how to address that, right? So later on today, we've got a law firm, Polaro Mars, that's coming on to speak about these types of strategies and how their clients were able to leverage them to take advantage of certifications. What's important to know, and I'll say this, is that, and I will remind you everybody this. For those who don't know, I've actually never held a certification. I've only ever worked with people who've had them, and I've been able to take advantage of them because they already had the certifications, and I was able to implement these models in place to teach them how to grow, scale, create value for them, create value for me, and then we were able to both make a lot of money. And so even though I've never personally had any certifications, I've never had them for myself or my company, SWC, countless times we've used them to work with both large companies and small companies, right? We had a different strategy with the large companies than we have with the smaller companies, but we use them to work with both sets of companies. And you can do the same thing. Right now, we have students that are identifying potential large business partners that they're going to bring into the federal space utilizing their certifications. How many people would like to do that, right? Everyone says they want to do it, but they don't even know the first thing to say to them, how to talk to the large business, what value do they offer to them. They don't even understand where their area of expertise is, where the customers are. So you can't even give them a roadmap clearly of where you want to take them. And that is so important to being able to leverage some of these models in order to go to rapid growth. So now let's look at which one are you, right? Number one, we've got 8A BD, right? Number two, women-owned small business, economically developed women-owned small business, veteran-owned small business, service disabled, veteran-owned small business, and then HUBZone. And then, by the way, by default, everyone is considered a small business, which means that your business can scale using these certification techniques that we're about to share. Great. So that's number one. Scaling certification mechanisms work in any small business because there are only 4 ways to sell, and they work in all of them. And by the way, the certifications is, again, the exact thing that we use to scale the business. So even though we're all small businesses, we were able to scale utilizing one of the socioeconomic certifications. So now, move on to number 2. Scaling with certifications mechanisms work in any small business because there are only 4 certifications, and they work in all of them, right? Because at the end of the day, with the amount of money that's being spent, with all the different federal agencies, one federal agency, one government office is all you need to get amazing results. You don't need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offices. When you realize that you only need one federal agency or office, it changes your mindset. It puts you in a frame of mind now that, hey, I don't have to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Hey, I don't have to be at every conference. Hey, I don't have to be on every industry day. Hey, I don't have to sit in all the sessions, right? Now you say to yourself, okay, so if all I need is one, right? And let's say what Eric's telling me is true. All I need is one agency, one office, right? To scale my business, to get amazing results. Then now you have the belief system of, okay, what do I have to do, right, to get with that office? Now, let me ask you guys this before we move on to the next slide. Okay, we said amazing results. Now, everyone on here has a different definition of amazing results, right? So I would be curious to hear from some of you out here, right? Amazing results. What would you consider amazing results, right? Let's talk about revenue numbers. We want to be a little bit vain, okay? Because if you're afraid to talk about money and you're afraid to have some vanity with it, because again, like I said in the beginning of this, we are here to make money. We are here to grow, to scale, to be successful. So let's talk about vanity metrics. What would you consider, and I want everyone to type in the chat, okay, a number that you would consider amazing results revenue-wise. Now, don't wait for everyone else to put their numbers in, to put your number in, because you think that your number is going to be too high or too low. And you could put it single digits. So 2 would be 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 6 million. What would be, and we're talking about annual revenue, right? What would be amazing results for you? Okay. I see 1 million, 3 million, 20 million, 20 million. Okay. Now, I just want to say, for those of you putting, 20 million, I'm assuming that you must be somewhere in the $1 to $5 million range. Those of you putting 50 million, I'm assuming you might be in a, $10 to $20 million range, right? Okay. I see 6 million. I see 5 million, 10 million, right? What's interesting is I remember my client that I started working with, his company, when I met them, they were doing, one of the clients, they were doing about 13 million a year. And in federal procurement, he said, look, if I do $2 or $3 million, I'm happy. Because he already had his commercial business. So $2 or $3 million, he was happy. And I said, look, I'm going to blow through $2 or $3 million. Like, that's peanuts to me. And it's funny because, in that we shared earlier in some slides today, we literally, that same person, as you saw on the screen, is now done over $34 million. Now, that's one example. So I see a different range of numbers. So this is great because you've got to have in you some of that, right? If you cannot even say, okay, what's amazing results for me? I like that because what it tells me is, if you put on the screen $20 million, $50 million, $10 million, that says you are willing to do everything it takes to make it. Because the person that goes for 10, that goes for 20, goes for 50, that's a different mindset. That's a different set of beliefs. That's a different work ethic. That's a different type of skill set. You have to, think about this. You're competing with everybody on here, right? There's thousands of people going to watch this video. So if you want to do $20 million, that means you're saying, look, I'm going to crush out all 95 people that are watching right now, right? That's what you're saying, right? If you're putting, $50 million, you're crushing out 99% of small businesses in the country. So that means you're willing to do whatever it takes to do it. You're willing to invest in yourself. You're willing to put in the time. You're willing to put in the effort. You're willing to show up late nights, right? Weekends, all-nighters. I mean, that's what you're telling me, right? And I'm good with that. I like it. I like people that are hungry. So, for me, I like that. But I just want you to know, like, again, the amount of work and effort to go from 5 to 10 to 20 to 50, it's different levels, different type of partners, different type of relationships, different type of staff, right? All of those things make a huge difference. So again, I like it. 5 million, 2 million. Okay. Sylvia, I see 20 million. Tavin, 20 million. Okay. By the way, there's nothing too crazy that you can put on the screen. There's nothing too big. There's nothing too small. So there's nothing that you could put on a screen that we haven't experienced, seen, worked with, done before. So as a person who has sat in the driver's seat for 15 plus years, there's no number that you could put on there that I would say is absolutely crazy. $50 million is at the end of the day, once you learn how to do this stuff, $50 million you might think is a low goal for yourself after you've been able to implement and execute on a lot of things that we're going to talk about. So, for me, it's interesting. Now we got some people putting in $100 million. Okay, I see it. Someone says, I was in a $2 million, but bad teaching had me not even touching a point of that. So I know it's possible, but it has to be done the right way. And that's true. And that's why, again, I want to continue to shed light on these things because I hear a lot of times what people are being taught, the information that's being shared, and unfortunately, right, it's hard to counter bad information. So for me, I'd say that we're trying to do our best to combat that, and we're doing the best that we can by doing things like this. So hopefully, by the time that everybody finishes this, everyone's goals will be 10 million and up. That's what I'd like to see, and then we could show you how to do that. As a reminder, there are 4 components to scaling certifications. Number 1 is attention, registering in the right system set for you. One of the things that I think that a lot of us don't know, and we'll discuss this, there's over 90 different platforms that you can register in. 90. Did anybody know that? Did anybody have any idea that there's more than 90 different platforms that you could register for? 90. So when we talk about less competition, right, building a moat around ourselves, right, going where others are not going, most people have no idea that there's over 90 different platforms to register. 90. We don't know these things. We're not taught these things. Most of us know SAM.gov. We've heard of DIBS. We've heard of UNICEF Marketplace. Okay, right? That's the ones we know. People know GSA, right? But if we were to start getting into, for example, behind DOD, you look at the Department of Energy spending, right? And so when you look at the Department of Energy and all their different sub offices, they have their own platforms. When we look at the national labs, they all have their platforms. Yeah, we're talking about just federal side, correct. On the federal side, this is specific, we're still sticking with federal here, right? So when you look at it, there's a lot of things that a lot of you here are leaving off the table. There's a lot of meat on the bones, right? You ever see somebody chew that chicken and they left all the meat on the bones? You're like, you didn't eat that chicken? That's what is happening with all of you out here. Y'all ate the chicken like other folks eat the chicken, where all that meat is sitting on there. Y'all didn't get none of the gristle. You didn't suck none of the bone off. If you registered in 3 portals, you registered in 3% of the portals. Even registering 10, that's 10% of the portals. So Justina said, I want the meat and the marrow. So again, a lot of us out here have no idea because we weren't taught these things. And so when you look at companies and you look at how they're succeeding and you see their growth, you don't know what it took. You don't know how they got there. You don't know at the end of the day, right, where they went, where the opportunities were, where they found success where others did not. And that's part of what we help companies do. That's what I've been doing. That's what people pay me for. That's what people come fly out to see me. That's what we do is we teach people how to go to where the opportunities are and not limit ourselves to just the things that we know. Let me ask you this. You know, I'm now 47 years old. And it's interesting because I've learned that the older I get, the more I realize, the less I know. Is there anyone else out there like that? Anyone else realizing that the more the older you get, the more you realize the less that you actually know? Anybody else? Any hands raised? Like, you know, because, you know, it's like, I thought I knew all this stuff. I thought I heard everything. I thought I watched all the videos. I thought I went to all the classes. I thought I went to the activities. Like, I thought I had all this stuff down pat. And I'm like, dang, you know, you spend one Saturday with me, a couple hours with me this morning, and you already are getting information that you didn't have. And you've probably listened to me for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, right? And we're already giving people a lot more information, right, than you've had watching dozens of videos, right? Listening to dozens of podcasts, hundreds of podcasts, you know, because I too am learning, right? As I'm interviewing some of these experts, I'm also learning and I'm growing and I'm getting new information and new data that I can share with you. And then I bring that back to everybody here and I make it available. So again, what I like to say is that before you tune out, and I know people got things to do this Saturday, stay tuned, stay with us, because again, we're going to be dropping a lot of information over the next couple hours for you. And I mean, as you can see, we've already put in a power pack presentation that, you know, we're about halfway through. So we're definitely going to keep pushing out the information that goes, and I want people to know what's coming up. So number 2, relationships. You to know them and they to know you. I think a lot of times with relationships, we think of it as a one-way street. But what I find is that, yes, it's great to know them, but it's even better for them to know you. I'll give you an example. I've been in the DC area for less than a month, and I already have multiple meetings with teaming partners, federal agencies. In fact, what's funny is even though federal agencies, the offices are closed, guess who's still having meetings with government people? Guess what? Now, it's not a formal meeting because they're not working, right? But these people, they have personal lives, and they're home, and they're furloughed, and they can't work. And you know what? You can go have lunch with them, and you can talk to them, right? No, it's not a formal request meeting through their offices, but I have done number 4, right, is we did bidding and performing, which gets them to know you and know what you're doing. And then number 4 is authority building, which allows you to expand and scale. So for me, number 4, authority building, is what I've been able to do, which is why I can talk to people even in the midst of a government shutdown to learn, right, and educate myself about the agency's missions, some of the challenges they're having, so that I can leverage that. When the government opens back up, I will have information that a lot of you do not have because you did not become an authority in your space. All right, so now let me prove it to you using a real world technique. So again, let's break down, for example, IT service business, and we're going to look at, couple that with number 3, service disabled, veteran-owned small business. All right. If you sell IT services, Put IT in the chat. Anybody sell IT services? Put IT in the chat. IT. Yeah, most people, a lot of us, we typically, and again, I know I'm saying a generic term, but I mean, a lot of us are in either construction, IT, and products. Those are the, some of the main boxes, and that's just generic. That's just a lot of what a lot of people fall into, because those are the big spinning categories. Great. Now let me tell you about my first good certification model. My steel building company grew because I became a direct reseller of the manufacturer, leveraging, number 2, relationships. As a direct reseller of the manufacturer, which was Seco Buildings, I had access to engineering, discounted pricing, and national labor. What do I mean by that? They actually, literally, if I had a project that was across the country, they would actually supply me with labor. I could tap into their partner network and get access to labor, and I didn't have to actually take my own crews and my own staff. So here's what most small IT businesses' BAT certifications model looks like, okay? Most small IT businesses' certification model are heavy generalist. They do not have a platform, a system. They do not have a platform or a system that they understand or know. What does that mean? When we look at platforms, right, IT platforms, you look at Cisco, VMware, Dynatrace, AWS, Rubrik, Salesforce. Does anybody know any of these platforms? NetApp. Anybody know any of these platforms? Anybody use these platforms? Anybody work with them? Right? So these are common platforms that the government uses all the time. And what happens is they do not know how the customers are buying their needs. They cannot articulate to the customer what they do or how they help solve their problems. And that's where Scale with Certifications model fixes it. So my Scale with Certifications model, we know what programs that the agency needs, and we become a reseller. So let's take Cisco, for example, Cisco reseller. So again, now, all of these people that mentioned IT companies, let's assume that you took the same route that I took, where I worked for a company called Seco Buildings, but on the IT side, you could be a Cisco reseller, and I have friends that are active Cisco resellers. In fact, the largest 8A company to graduate in history, Worldwide Technology, is the #1 Cisco reseller and implementation in the world, WWT, Worldwide Technology. So now, let's say you are a Cisco reseller. You can now narrow your IT search to a tailored group. And as a reseller, we learn that Cisco certifications, we learn which Cisco certifications are required, but also you learn which agencies use the product and what's their total addressable market. Also, by being a reseller, guess what happens? You get product discounts and, a lot like myself, strategic partnerships. Now, what does it do for you? It allows you to focus on the agencies that need Cisco services, and additionally, as an expert with Cisco, they will refer you business. Now, before we move on, how many people know that Cisco, if you were a reseller, would refer you business? Did anybody know that Cisco would actually refer you business? Did you know that when you become a reseller for the OEMs and IT, that they'll send you business? They'll refer you to prime contractors, and when they win contracts from the federal government, they will call you to do some of their implementations. I actually, a week ago, I had dinner with someone who works at one of the big OEMs, and he was telling me that many of you small businesses out here that have certifications, that you literally, when you read about these big deals that these big OEMs are winning from the government, right, they're not actually doing the implementations. People like you, the small guys, are doing the implementations because you know the systems. So part of their strategy is to have great small businesses partners like yourselves, so that you could actually be the one that when they won a contract, they could call upon you to do the implementation because you're certified, you know their product line, and now you can start working on relationships specifically with those agencies. So this strategy is how my company, Evankoff, placed number 5 in the top 10 steel builders in the country. This cash flow let me scale from 8 figures in 4 years as a kid in my late 20s and early 30s, allowing me to have a team of contractors that built facilities all over the country. Now, in this particular scenario, both businesses, okay, IT, one was a generalist, one was Cisco rep. Looks like my slides froze. All right, so while we're waiting for my slides to unfreeze, so essentially, both businesses were IT services, right? And one of them was Cisco rep, one was a generalist. And the good thing is, since I made these slides, I know them. I could talk from them, the differences. But I'll go back to, we'll back up some because a lot of you guys in IT said that you did not know that the companies actually will actually help you with the implementations in terms of when you get the contract. So for me, what's interesting is I was a Seco dealer, right? Like, so my steel building business, I was a Seco metal building dealer. Well, Seco is the number 3 top. There's only 3 metal building. Well, okay, let me put it this way. They're the top out of the top 3 metal building companies in the entire country. What does that mean? That means that they literally, anytime, the government knows these people, right? The government's like, okay, we want to build some F-16 hangars. We want to build F-35 hangars. They go to the top companies that produce steel in our country, and they do designs, they do mock-ups, they do drawings for them. They'll help them prepare the requirements. And then what does Seco do? Remember, Eric Coffie, down South Florida, I'm one of their top dealers. They go, Eric, you do federal contracts. The Corps of Engineers called us. We gave them this particular building, and is it something that you'd be interested in pricing to actually do the contract? Because Seco, the manufacturer, does not compete with us in actually doing installs and selling buildings. They sell it to resellers like myself. So in my particular situation, what happened was it helped me, one, by becoming a dealer, so I showed them I know what to do. I started winning my own contracts. But then what accelerated me was that they started calling me with contracts. Now, let's take it a step further. Not only did they call me with contracts, they started having other people who reached out to their company that said, hey, do you know a metal building company in this area or that does federal procurement? I was the metal building guy that does federal procurement. So similarly with Seco or Rubrik or any of these other platforms, VMware, you can do the same thing. A lot of us, we just don't know about this because we think that somehow that these particular companies, because they're building a lot of companies, they don't need our help. And in fact, the opposite is true. They have huge referral networks. They've got huge supplier networks. They've got huge reseller networks, and they actually want more businesses on those networks. Now, one of the things that I would say that I would do if I were you, and again, I'm just using Cisco as an example. I'm not saying to go out and get Cisco. So I'm just using Cisco for example. But one of the things that would be, if I were leveraging one of these strategies, one of the things that I would consider doing is saying, okay, hey, I'm talking to this agency, or I have a relationship with this agency, or I'm working with this particular agency, right? Trying to understand what systems are they on and that they're utilizing. I'll give you another example. So I had lunch, and by the way, I'm gonna tell you this, I love DC already. I mean, I've had so many meetings, so many lunch sessions with so many people that it's been incredible for me. But literally, I had lunch with a gentleman the other day. Anybody heard of a little company called Carasoft? Any of my IT people heard of Carasoft? Carasoft? Yeah. By the way, Shonda, yes, they're calling with contracts. Remember, your certification. See what I'm going to explain in these next slides when we get the slides back working over here is that your certification is your meal ticket. You just don't know how to use it. It's not. Nobody lacks for. You're not dumb or anything like that. No one's taught you how to leverage your certifications to do these things that we're teaching you. So what happens is we sit dormant and we pursue the same avenues as people without certifications, and we should not be doing that. If there's anything that you could take from today, right? You should not be pursuing avenues with the same way that people with certifications pursue them. So you with certifications should not, I'm going to say this again, should not be pursuing the same avenues as people without them. All right, let's get my slides are back on. So anybody heard of a little company called Carasoft? They do about $10 billion. Anybody heard of Carasoft? Any of my IT people heard of Carasoft? Carasoft. C-A-R-A-S-O-F-T? Carasoft? Any of my IT people Carasoft? Or slides back up? Okay, cool. All right, let me finish this point. Anybody heard of Carasoft? Yep. All right, so my IT people heard of Carasoft before. Check this out. I'm gonna drop this free game for my IT people. All right. Kamisha, what's up, girl? So, IT people, Carasoft. Do you know that if you have relationships with an agency, first of all, does everybody know what Carasoft does? So it's funny, again, people have been putting me on so much game in this place that it's incredible. So Carasoft does $10 billion a year, for those who don't know. And Carasoft doesn't actually make anything. They just resell everybody else's stuff. So Carasoft basically resells all these licenses from Microsoft, all the same people I listed on there. So every software company in the world, Carasoft resells their licenses to the government. Now, why do they do that? Why does not these entities sell directly to the government themselves? Because, remember what I told you before, there's 90 different places to register. So, because there's 90 different places to register, those organizations like Microsoft and VMware, and they go, look, I just want to make a 50% margin. I don't want to get registered in 90 different systems, bid hundreds of projects, right? Go after RFPs, RFQs. I don't want to meet requirements of some subcontracting goals and all this stuff. So they resell it to Carasoft. Carasoft then does all of that legwork and does all of the strategic partnerships with all the different agencies and offices. They do all the small business goals. They do all that stuff. And they've created a $10 billion business doing that. So if you had your company like Microsoft, you're like, look, bump that. Hey, this thing is $50. If you give me $75, Carasoft, you can have it. Carasoft is great. We do it. And that's their business model. Now, how does that apply to all the people listening in IT? Because all of you listening in IT, essentially what happens is you, with your certification, check this out, with your certification, you can, and let's say you have a relationship with an agency. So let's say you work with, let's say Homeland Security. So if you have a certification, or you say Air Force, like a group of Air Force Lifecycle Management, right? I've done business with Air Force Lifecycle Management. Let's say you're IT, you've got a women-owned small business certification, and you know people at Air Force Lifecycle Management. Guess what? You could go to Carasoft and say, hey, I'm a women-owned business, and I know I have relationships with Air Force Lifecycle Management. Carasoft can tell you what systems they have, which ones they're going to be upgrading, what they're going to need licenses-wise, and then you can work with Carasoft to actually help provide that and resell that directly to that agency. But people don't know this because we're not being taught this. So we still keep doing the same paths as non-certified people, wondering why we're getting different results. All right, so let's keep going with that. So again, going back to my example with IT services, generalists, and Cisco, yes, this whole thing is going to be recorded. And yes, so it will be recorded. So now let's talk about, so again, you've got the IT services, generalists, and IT services, Cisco. Essentially, they target the same agencies. But one makes way more money, right? Because the IT services with Cisco leverage certifications model. And so, meanwhile, you might not be, like I said, there's nothing wrong with your business. Your business is a great business, right? But you might just have something wrong with your certifications model. And so that's where we talk about scaling certifications, right? If you move from the generalist, right, over to Cisco. So now we broke down the IT services business using veteran-owned small business as an example, service-able veteran-owned small business. Now let's break down construction, you know, my swim lane. And we're going to do it with an 8A program. All right. If you sell any sort of construction services, I'm sorry about my typo, put a C in the chat. If anybody's in construction, I want C's in the chat. If you're in construction, put a C in the chat. All right. Great. C, construction. All right, so we did IT, now we're doing construction. We did service-able veterans, now we're doing 8A. Great, now let me tell you about my second good scale certifications model. All right, so my second customer from YouTube allowed me to grow his attention to the right customers. Notice I wrote the word attention, okay? So what we knew was that he could perform. So we have students in here who are working with people that could perform. So we knew he could perform, but he wasn't getting noticed. And so once we were able to solve that problem of him getting noticed, he was able to grow $9 million in revenues in 2 years. Here's what a bad construction business model looks like. So I was working with this other contractor. He was #1 in the state for his construction services. The problem was, like most business owners, he thought being good was enough to win business. So after being registered in the 8A program, his plan was to tell the world, right? So here's what he did. He said, okay, there's an event going on online, right? There's going to be some government people there, and they're going to be presenting. So he would register and sign up for the event. Makes sense, right? A lot of us do that, right? A lot of us do that. But it gets worse. He didn't know what to present because him and his team came without a strategy. And at the end, they both wasted money and time, which is the most precious resource that we all have. So here's how scaling certifications model fixes this. So my scaling certifications model, we know exactly what customers buy our services. So we know the agencies first. And then we find the events that the agencies will be attending. And then we have a plan of who we want to meet and what we want to discuss. And so we're able to execute on the strategy for maximum efficiency and maximum effectiveness. And so essentially, we're spending the same dollars, the same energy, but we're reaching the right customers with a clear message at the right time. And so this strategy is what I use to scale my friend's partner construction company from $200K in federal to more than $9 million in 2 years. And so that success led us to a deeper relationship where, again, we're able to extend travels and trips and experiences with our families together. And so when you look at it, both businesses in those examples, both of them, you know, you had an event where the government was going to be there, you signed up and you attended the event, right? So it's really, they both use the same equipment, all right? They're both in construction, we do renovation, right? They both use the same type of staff, project managers, engineers, safety guys. They both sell the same product to the same customers, right? What was the difference, right? The order of operations. So they found an event and they signed up and they attended. We found the agency, then we went to the events, and then we were able to attend. And then what happened was at one of the events that we attended, one of the agencies, offices that we were looking to make a connection with said to me, Eric, I'm going to give you some sole source contracts when I get back to the office. And that single interaction has given us the $9 million in contracts. It was not 12 agencies, 12 offices, 12 contacts. It was one agency, one office, one person. And we've since then expanded that relationship. So there's not anything wrong with your business. You just have something wrong with your certification model. But this is not my first time doing this. Back when I started in 2008, like I said, we scaled my friend's HVAC company from zero to millions of federal contracts. Today, he sits at $200 million per year and has 4 different verticals. And by the way, they're all at maximum capacity. I was just with him 2 months ago celebrating my friend's new house that he opened up. And so we were all together. And he was saying he can't take on any more projects, any work. He's actually turning down 10, 20, $30 million contracts because he can't. But I also scaled his brother's company, which was a painting company, utilizing the exact same techniques. They both happen to have 8A at the same time. Same techniques, one certification. And guess what? We did it at a time where there was twice the number of small businesses. And we did it at a time where the spending was 1/3 of what it is today. So we had twice the competition and 1/3 of the spending. So when we talk about challenging times, there was no greater challenging time. And so when I look at the opportunities being afforded to you, in the same scenarios, we sold the same stuff that everyone else did. The only thing that changed was our scaling models that we were able to implement. And so once I nailed that down, I combined any two of them together, like attention model with authority, or say the relationship model combined with execution. This is when our phone finally started ringing with sole source opportunities. And now comes the agencies reaching out to you for help with projects and needs and wanting to meet your team. And this is the goal that I have for everybody who's watching this today. So as long as you sell something to the government that they buy, there's a certification model that scales it. Yes, including your business, all of you are with me now. These are the skills that anyone have been for me, have been the most valuable in my life, is attention, let's go back. Attention, relationships, execution, authority. So they're definitely worth learning. Would you not agree? And so for me, what I like to do today is I want to transfer them to you at the best of my ability. And so here's what we've covered so far. The number of small businesses is shrinking every year. The number of dollars spent with small businesses, and in particular the 4 certifications, continue to rise each year. The certification programs have virtually stayed the same with the exception of goals increases. There are 2 types of businesses, products and services. 4 types of small business certifications, 8A, women-owned small business, veteran, service disabled veteran, and then HUBZone. And there's literally 4 certification models that can help any one of those businesses scale that sells something that the government actually buys. So can you see how having a better certification model can get you more customers, spending more money over and over again, and unlock the growth that you want? Can you see how having a better certification model allows you to grow on your own without taking bad debts, investors, or terrible partners? Can you see how mastering scaling models could change your entire business or life without changing your product or delivery? Can you see how your business, big or small, with salespeople or without, can use certification models to scale? In short, can you see that why building the best scaling model possible is a skill worth having? And this skill may just be the bridge that takes you from where you are today to where you want to go. At least it has been for me. And so let me ask you a question. Who here would like to master this skill? So I said drop a 1 in the chat, but if you can, drop a rocket in the chat. If you want to master this skill, drop a rocket in the chat. I want to see a bunch of rockets in the chat. Nah, no ones, Chris. Drop a rocket, man. Drop a rocket. Go look for the rocket. Can you guys find the rocket emojis? Some people can find rocket emojis. Somebody put a heart. Sean is like, I don't know how to use this computer. I'm just keep putting hearts. Jason B, rockets. All right, so listen. People don't fly to me or ask me to invest in their business, train them, coach them because they think I understand HVAC, plumbing, janitorial, painting. They don't think that I understand this stuff or any of your businesses better than any of you guys could ever understand, right? People come to me because I understand the mechanics behind certification models and making money using them and how to combine them in the right order, right? That's what I understand. So in other words, they come to me because I know how to build certification models, right? And so what we've been talking about. So I literally can take any one of your certifications that you guys have, right? 8A, women, veteran, service disabled veteran, and HUBZone. And even veteran that's not actually utilized, I can even leverage that because I can take it to other relationship partners. So I can literally take any one of those certifications, right? And I can combine any two of these models, intention, relationships, execution, and authority, to help start achieving your goals and winning contracts in the federal arena. And I think I remember a lot of you wrote, right, that, hey, you want to do 5 million, 2 million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, right? You wrote that in the things. So literally, you already have part of the equation. And so what's the best way to introduce you to our system, scaling certifications? And before I tell you the price, let me ask you a question. How much is doubling your current pipeline worth to you? 2 times, 3 times, 4 times? For those of you that put rockets in the chat, for those of you who said, hey, I want to do millions of dollars, right? Kennedy, Rudolph, Chi-Chi, they said, I want to do $10 million, I want to do $5 million, I want to do $8 million, right? Again, what percentage, right? So if we could double your win percentage, 100%, 100x. Kay says 100x. I like that. Okay. Oh, Sean, you found a rocket, right? So again, if we double your growth, so let's say you're at $100,000, you go to 200,000. If you're at 2 million, you go to 4 million. If you're at $1.5 million, we take it to 3 million. What is that worth? If you're at 600,000, we take it to 1.2 million, right? So now let's actually calculate the number, right? And so, for example, let's say you're doing 120,000 a year, and we take you to 450,000 a year, right? I know some people are doing $500,000 a year, and we take you to $1 million a year, right? What is that? So what would that be worth to you if you went from $500,000 to $1 million, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 8 to 12, right? What is that worth? So if you knew beyond a shadow of doubt what would happen, right? What you can't, because of all the business involves some sort of risk, right? Because again, I mean, it's just difficult to measure. But if you did, wouldn't it be worth at least that much that you have in your head, right? Whatever that number is, you know? Because after changing the lives of my clients, students, and receiving hundreds of messages like this, for all those people, it would have been worth any price, right? So again, that's why we shared, like, for example, I get to stay at my friend's house for free. I travel for free because, again, to him, growing their business to $30 million over 6 years, growing to $11 million in 3 years, it's literally invaluable, right? And so that's why the Scale Certifications Guide is a bargain price. If let's say it was $30,000, right? It would be still worth it to people because, again, if you could do this and double your revenues from wherever you're at, 100,000, 200,000, you'd still make $70,000. And think about this. If all we did was allow you to make 1% of what this guy made, right? So let's say 1% of $9 million, which is $90,000, okay? Would it still be worth it? I think so, right? I mean, if someone said, Eric, if you give me $40,000, $30,000 today, and I'm going to give you back $90,000, I'd take that every day of the week. I mean, I would personally, like just me. So, hey, I give you $30,000, you give back $90,000. Okay, I'll take that. Which is why it's even a bigger bargain at $14,995. Because if for this fiscal year, all it does is get you one more customer, one more contract at twice the speed, right? Then it'd be more than worth it. In fact, we just got someone recently a contract for $18,000. But the best part is if you only invest once, you can monetize the skills forever. Which would you rather have, right? $10,000 or the business that you want? Which is why this may be the best offer that I'm giving at this time. $6,000, $5,997. But because I want everyone here to 2x, 5x, 10x your growth in your business over the next 12 months. To be clear, I want that for you, but I can't guarantee you because most people don't do anything with my information, right? You guys know it. I mean, I've had hundreds of videos, thousands of videos, and most of you watch not just 50% of the video, 20%, 30% of the video. And so what I want to do is I want to make things affordable for everyone out here, but also still make an investment because if you don't put anything in, you won't get anything out of it. And so, again, it's still an investment. So I'm not going to ask anybody for any crazy numbers like $30,000, but I mean, it'll be totally reasonable. I'm not going to ask anybody for $15,000 because, again, it's reasonable. I'm not going to ask anybody to pay $8,000, you know? And given that each phase demonstrates the concept inside, it only makes sense that scaling with certifications, how to scale, and that I should charge something for it, right? So that's why I'm going to give you access to everything I talked about today. The 4 certification models that can help anybody scale that sells to the government: attention, relationships, execution, authority, for just 3 payments of interest-free payments, $0. That's it. 0. Nothing. 100% free. Like Shirley says, you can lead a horse to water. This is my way of saying thank you guys for coming out today, for being a part of my webinar. I appreciate you guys, everyone who's here today. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. You will also receive many courses. You're going to get the Scaling with Certifications Live workbook. You're going to get many courses, 100% for free. And for those who are here, for my promise at the beginning to get something, I got something else for you here live to make sure that enough time to take advantage of the free items. When you join Federal Help Center, you with me today, you're going to get not just 14 days for free, not 30 days for free, not 45 days for free, not even 60 days for free, 90 days for free. Since its inception, our Federal Help Center premium plan has been $30 a month. But since you're here with me live today, for anyone who stays after your 90 days for free, we drove down the price from $30 a month to just $9 a month. And by the way, you could cancel anytime when you click out of it. So if you're an up-and-coming entrepreneur, this is your free tech starter kit. This is the best head start that I can give you. So you're going to get Scaling with Certifications Live workbook, GovCon mini courses, all for free, and all those will be available Tuesday morning after the launch. I want to say something else. Someone asked about the 90 different places to register. So we go over 20 of the places in the book. So you'll have that in there. So now at the beginning I said I was going to help 2 types of people today. The up-and-coming entrepreneurs, right, which we just did. So that's the Scaling with Certifications Guide, the 5 mini courses, right, Federal Help Center. Do you feel like I kept my promise? Now, business owners, players, money makers, if you're in the game, I made this for you. The most valuable thing I can do to scale your business in the least amount of time. Working one-on-one with you to implement everything I know into your specific business today. So I did something crazy. After our conference last year with over 800 attendees, my team took personal one-on-one calls this year alone with business owners just like you, and consulting with companies between $5 million all the way up to $400 million. And hearing that, you might think about, for a guy with such a big following, offering private consultations, workshops, using his actual portfolio team might be the dumbest scalable idea. And you're right, if you didn't know why I did it. Over the last 9 months, we've met with over 464 small businesses, 464. And I didn't do all the meetings, all the workshops, all the consultations because, well, I thought they were scalable. They're not. I did it for one thing: data. I wanted to know once and for all the problems that you're dealing with right now. What's limiting your growth today? Your bottlenecks at this moment, everything that's keeping you up at night, everything that's holding you back, everything that's keeping you stuck. And after meeting with over 464 businesses, we codified everything. We developed a package that solved all the beginning needs to get straight to getting results. These aren't theories. They're tested solutions, each developed by working with over 400 plus real businesses directly. Each package contains exact script, information, and strategy that we give our $80,000 advisory clients that break through at the earliest challenges. This isn't some digital PDF or a downloadable file that never will be. That's way too valuable. Not some login that you'll never use or some file you'll scroll through once and forget. This had to be everything that you needed. You're getting something with hard costs and real value. agencies and offices to target, SBA profile optimization, events to attend, RFI and source slot templates, organizations to join, the places to register and sign up, government leads, custom email and phone scripts, custom strategies for your business, specifically like we discussed today, and lastly, a one-on-one call with me. All those 10 things alone add up to more than $35,000 in value. My strategy calls alone are $10,000. And today, I'll put it in your hands for not $20,000, not $15,000, not $10,000, but only $6,000. And you're going to want to get in right now because there's bad news and there's good news. What do you want to hear first? The good news? Most people like the good news. All right, let's go with the good news. Good news is I secured a partnership with a firm to make it more affordable to anyone who wants to get at the package. And if you qualify for a firm, you can end up spending as little as $249 a month, interest-free. And if you have any problems below with registering, call the number below. We have someone standing by right now to take people's phone calls, 786-477-0477. Now to the bad news. We only have 25 spots. It's limited. And so why only 25 spots? First of all, everyone knows a lot of my coaches. They would kill me if there was 100 spots. We can't take on that many people. I can't fit more in than we're already doing at a live event that's included because we're going to actually be doing an in-person event. Yes. Included with your purchase today and your ticket is a 2-day live in-person mastermind. The first time I've ever done it before. Going over more in-depth strategies customized to you on scaling using certifications. But again, I only have 25 spots open. And that's it. So you're really getting what we formally call our business development readiness package, one-on-one strategy calls with Eric, 2-day live in-person mastermind for free, total value of $45,000. And that's it, right? No. We understand that work does not stop there. So you still have bidding and proposals, joint ventures, teaming, right? All the strategies, capability briefings, multiple vendor portals, all the things that we mentioned before. So that's why we want to give you access to my entire video library forever, the step-by-step guide on doing all 4 phases, foundation building, pipeline relationship development, bidding and expansion, growth and authority building. So you're really getting the BD business development package, your one-on-one strategy call with me, 2-day live in-person mastermind, video step-by-step success guide, total value of over $52,000, and that's it, right? No. We know that videos don't always get the job done, right? A lot of you guys, you buy things and you don't do it. So sometimes you want to get on a call with an expert and get your questions answered. So we have something for that as well. 1-year access to all of our weekly coaching calls for 1 extra payment of $0. So you're really getting BD development readiness package, one-on-one strategy calls, 2-day live in-person mastermind, video step-by-step success guide, 1-year access to all of our group and coach calls for free. Total value $55,000, all for one-time payment of $6,000. But we only have 25 spots, and that's it, right? No. What else could I possibly have to offer? Watch this. I've been trading online for the last 10 years. I've been doing it for almost the last 20 years. If you guys look, that picture in the middle, that's Brandon there in the middle, me holding Brandon in the middle and to the right. But I've notated everything and did something great. I put all my years of experience into proposals, bids, capability statements, principles, tips and techniques, email scripts, phone scripts, call recordings, legal documents, and so much more. And I train in AI on everything that I know, OpenGov IQ. We worked on this for a little under a year, but now it's finally available. And when you sign up, you get 1 year for free. So you're really getting business development ready package, one-on-one strategy call with me, 2-day live in-person mastermind for free, video step-by-step success guide, 1-year access to group coaching calls, 1-year access to the AI tool OpenGov that's been trained on all the things that I know for the last 10 years. $61,000 value, all for one-time payment of $6,000. But again, we only have 25 spots. Email scale to hello@govcon.edu. Give us a call, 786-477-0477. Now, is that a deal? Yes? No? Yes? I see people in the chat. Did we do something? By the way, in a couple minutes, our guests will be coming up talking about scaling and strategies for 2025, 2026. So just a few minutes, we're going to have our first speaker coming up discussing opportunities to scale. Remember this. And that's it, right? Last thing, I promise. People in general learn best in group settings. So I thought it made sense to not only do an in-person training, but a virtual one as well. With that being said, I'll be hosting our first ever Scale with Certifications Bootcamp. 6 weeks of everything we talked about today, more in depth, and putting it into practice. And guess how much you pay, how much more I want you to pay. Not $5,000, not $2,500, not $1,000. Big fat zero. So really, you're getting a business development readiness package, one-on-one strategy call with me, 2-day live in-person mastermind, video step-by-step success guide, 1-year access to group coaching calls, 1-year access to the AI tool, and the Scale with Certifications Bootcamp for free. Total value is $65,000. Now, Eric, what about for us smaller people? I get it. $6,000 is not affordable for everybody, right? That's why we put people in two categories, right? We've got the people that are already doing, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, that want to go from, 1 to 2 million to 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. I got it. But don't worry, for the smaller people that can't afford it, I got it. I got you. We obviously can't give you everything that the big players got, right? It makes sense. But we can try. So for $997, what you're going to get is our video step-by-step success guides, right? 3 months access to group coaching calls, 3 months access to the AI tool, Scaling with Certifications Bootcamp, total $22,000 value. You think that's enough value? Do you think I believe I gave her enough value now? Like, I mean, how am I doing? Right? I'm here. We're on screen, and we're spending time and effort today, and we're about to just drop some more value on you with some speakers coming up in a couple minutes. Is that good? Like, is everybody happy with that? We did all right? Yes? No? 2 thumbs up? They're monitoring the chats. All right. So email us now if you're ready. Again, only 25 spots left. Email scale to hello@govcon.edu.com. We've got someone standing by monitoring the email systems. we're getting ready to prepare for our speakers coming up. So we're going to be standing by monitoring emails. If you give us a call, 786-477-0477, someone's there to answer the phone calls. Now, it's time for our first raffle. I think a lot of people forgot that we had a raffle today. So we're going to do a raffle. All right. So let's see. And the winner of the 1 year free access to OpenGov IQ is drum roll, 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 drum roll. I've got my handy dandy assistant sitting here, giving me the information. So just so you guys know, I'm not alone. I've got my handy dandy assistant sitting right here. All right. Let's see what they come up with. But I'll tell you something that's exciting. Me being here, right, in the DC area, is going to give anyone who works with me more access to the people in the area, because now I'm leveraging all my authority, all my relationships, all my connections, and I can bring that to all of you. So now I'm going to be able to add even more value to people beyond, because I'm now here physically in DC. So that's why I can pull off things like this, get speakers from billion-dollar companies to come speak, people who've scaled to tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, because I'm physically now here in DC. So we're going to have access to the best and the brightest and the top people. So the winner of the raffle is Glendaliza Rodriguez. Glendaliza Rodriguez, hopefully you're watching this today. Congratulations. You are the winner of 1 year free access to OpenGov IQ. So congratulations on that. And now it's time for our second raffle. So let me see what we've got coming up here. Boom, boom, boom. Is this not fun? Like, I think this is great. Clap, celebrate, Look, first of all, you got to start learning how to celebrate each other, right? So start learning how to celebrate each other. All right. Elliot Anderson. What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, I'm sorry. You see, I was so excited to read the name, I forgot to read the dinner. The winner of the free dinner with me is Elliot Anderson. So congratulations, Elliot Anderson. We'll figure out. I got time to get together and catch up. And hopefully you've got have some things that you want to talk about, some people that we can connect you with in this area. Like I said, we're going to open up for questions before our guests come up on and start speaking about experiences. So if you could, for now, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We're getting prepared. We got our speakers are starting coming in right now. I'm going to go start answering questions. By the way, and this has been fun for me. I think this is exciting. I hope that everybody's learned something. Again, don't forget, for all of you, on Tuesday, you're going to get your free value. Drop your questions in the chat. I'm going to stay here and take some questions. So if you could, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat about anything that we discussed today, any of the programs we discussed, any of the strategies we discussed, any of the things that that we're talking about now, for any of the people that the 2-day live, the mastermind. There was something that I want to do because, like you said, and I really learned. It's interesting because for all of you that came to the summit last year, right? So if everyone that came to the summit last year, don't forget, drop your questions in the chat. I don't know what ISBEE is. Can you please spell out that acronym, Chris? I don't know what ISBEE is, right? So what I've seen already from being here in DC and meeting with some of the people that were at my summit, people are already making deals from the people that they met at our in-person summit. So people I know and met are doing deals, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the people that they met at my summit. So I realized that it's super important that if we get a group of us in a room together, even for 2 days, we can literally hatch out multi-million-dollar ideas, because You're going to share your expertise and your knowledge and your insight track on certain groups. I'm going to share my expertise and knowledge, insight track on certain groups. So really what I've seen is that if we all sit together in a room, it's literally a way that we can all combine insight knowledge, trade information, and then be able to help make other connections and relationships that can then go from there. I'm telling you, I've already seen it being here in DC this month. After 2 meetings, someone said to me they're building out entire IT divisions for companies. Literally, entire division. So all of you that were in IT, I'm not an IT person, I can say that, but I can introduce you to OEMs and give you alternatives to where you can create a pathway to grow your IT division. And I didn't have access to that before coming here. But now that I'm in the heart, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be meeting with personally offline a lot of these government agencies, figuring out what their needs are, and I'm going to bring it back to the people who work with me. So I'm looking forward to meeting with everybody, connecting with everybody. We're looking forward to the boot camp coming up, right? Again, drop your comments or questions in the chat. I can see the chat over here in my side view. Drop them in the chat. I can see them in here. Congratulations to all the winners. Someone says it's Native American set aside. What about Native American set aside? What's specific about it? I mean, I love Native American set asides. They've got their own special programs, and then they can leverage the normal programs as well. So, Indian Small Business Economic Development Enterprise. Okay. So let's see. Why us Indian small business not talked about as a set aside? It's interesting because I've never seen, when you look at, so for example, when I talk about certifications, ARW solutions, right? When you mention the Indian Business Economic Enterprise set aside, I look at the SBA scorecards. So that's what I use to measure this stuff, is I go on, I look at SBA scorecards, and the SBA scorecards is what's the barometer for which I discuss my lessons. So it's not me. So if you look at all the graphs, all the charts, everything I show, all the four major certifications are the ones that everyone's measuring, because those are the ones, I guess, that have goals attached to it. So those are the ones that they're measuring. So those are the ones that I talk about. So for me, that's why I discuss those things. You know. What else? So yeah, so Chris says, does that work like other certs? So again, I have seen particular set-asides for Native Americans. However, what we do in terms of strategy is we first find out, in fact, if there are any goals attached to it, Chris. So in order for me to answer that question, I'd have to find out if there's any goals attached to that particular certification. But again, just looking at what's being measured across the board, right, then what we see are the ones that I mentioned here, the 4 big ones. So it's not to say, now let me tell you something else. So if you have other certifications that are not being measured, right, and I know so many people saw the video on 3 worthless certifications, right, like the Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. What I found is that if you can have a certification, even though it may not have any direct value to get you a sole source or a set-aside contract, right, it inherently has value, because I have seen companies or agencies, excuse me, choose companies that have a 3rd certification, even though, right, they didn't pick them because of that certification. They pick their company to check a box and get credit for having it. So even though the direct procurement was not related to that particular certification, they chose that company because they were able to check a box and get credit for that. Now, I don't particularly agree with that philosophy, but if I get off my high horse and tell you candidly what I feel, I mean, that's the reality of it. So they're going to do it whether I believe it or not believe in it. That's just the idea behind it. So again, having some of these additional certifications can help you in that sense, not necessarily for the opportunities that we talked about, like the scaling models, but they can help you when it comes to actual, like someone picking you over someone else that doesn't have that, because they can check an additional box and get credit even though they didn't solicit for that certification. And that's what happens with HUBZone a lot of times. You know, on the HUBZone certification program, they oftentimes do not solicit HUBZone companies, but they will choose you for having it because they can take the credit. So that's why there's 4 different models, because they don't all work together. They don't all work the same. So now let's talk about, Chris says, am I still active in metal buildings? Yes. So I'm not active in metal buildings anymore, Chris. Unfortunately, no. Not right now. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not active in metal buildings right now. I left that space. However, Chris, I am coming back to in the contractor space as a contractor. Shelly says, what I've seen now, it seems like BOS are often awarded to Native American companies. So Shelly, that's a great statement. But one of the things that I encourage everyone to do is just be more open, right, to understanding. Remember I said earlier, the older I get, the more I realize, the less and less I know. If you're only looking at it from the lens of what you see, we mentioned today that there's 90 different portals to register in. And so if you're only thinking about from the lens that you see it, which is the native companies that are getting the contracts, then you're excluding, the tens of billions of dollars that are going to non-native firms. And I think that for many of us is enough for any of us to be very successful and wealthy beyond our wildest imagination. So, yes, the native firms are getting their fair share of contracts, but so are non-native firms. Again, billions of dollars in any industry is enough to make any one of us ultimately successful. All right. So, I think that's a great point, but also I want to kind of bring it back home, right? So it's easy to look at the class half full, half empty, instead of half full, right? I'm looking at it, the cup half full, saying, they still got billions for us, Shelly. So let's focus on the billions that they have available for us and not the billions that the other people are getting. Because the truth is, we could pick that with all of DOD, because, the large companies, the top 10 are getting 50% of all the work. All right? So, exactly. Like I said, ANCs, they deserve their share as well. Everyone can play. We are not fighting with tribal persons or tribal communities. We really should be looking at competing against the large businesses, right? We should not be thinking about or concerning ourselves with competing against Native Americans who were here in our country first, Alaskan Natives who, if you've ever been to any of these places, they live in many of you live in much better conditions than those tribal communities. So, I'm not here to pick a fight with any of our brothers and sisters on the native land. I'm only here to look at the opportunities that are afforded to people like us, because you know what? America is a place where we're all given opportunities to be successful. Everyone admitted to me in the beginning of this that you've all seen people who scale using certifications. So we all know this, we've all seen it. And so at the end of the day, let's focus on that, and let's not, because the more we focus on what other people have, and the less we can talk about how do we grow and scale our particular business. So listen, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to get ready for the in-person interview. In the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to someone behind helping me put this whole thing together, who's behind GovCon Giants as an organization, who's been running a lot of our social media team, who manages a lot of the content that goes out, the emails. My son, Brandon Coffie, he's also been the one here handing me the slides. So I'm going to introduce you to Brandon. I'm going to go upstairs, and we're going to switch over. No, Shelly, I understand. No, trust me, I understand. No harm, no foul. No, listen, I promise you. Hey, we are here to talk about growing and scaling our businesses and all be successful. So, Brandon's going to come on up, and I'm going to go upstairs, and we're going to get ready for our guest speaker. So stay tuned. Again, keep asking your questions, and I'll be here upstairs in a minute. I'm going to go change. See you in a little bit. All right, my man.
All right. Hello. How's everybody doing today? Okay, so hopefully I feel like everybody got the actual value from the event. We did spend a lot of time, obviously, not just on the slides, but just ensuring that everybody received the maximum value from the event, right? So, had a one-on-one, Brandon, great guy. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. What's up, Shed? How you doing? So, Eric for office. I don't know, because they got to look at my background. He run for office. So, I don't know, man. We might have to switch that up. But More of the point is, I really appreciate everybody from coming today. Yeah, like I said, we did spend a lot of time with the back end to just really ensure that you guys are getting the maximum value. Again, I was on a lot of those meetings, so when he said 464 meetings, I probably took 461 of those meetings, right? But more of the point was that we did sit here, we did collect the data. So if you ever hopped in a meeting with me, I did have the AI running, and it wasn't by accident, obviously. It was so we can understand everybody's problems. So when we did come up with the idea as a company to start doing these one-on-one calls, this mic's a little short, but when we did come up with the idea the company started doing these one-on-one calls, we really did it with the understanding of, okay, let's figure out what everybody's going through, right? Because Eric can't talk to everybody. We know time's too valuable. He doesn't have enough time in the day to be able to talk to everybody. But let's get somebody who does have a little bit more time to talk to everybody to really understand, like, what's the needs, like, what's everybody going through. And that's what the idea of the calls was, is to just really figure out what's everybody going through and then craft the perfect thing to match all the problems everybody's having. So, I mean, when I had these calls, one of the biggest problems really was people not understand the research. People not even understand who buys what they sell, right? And obviously, if you're inside the classes and you're inside any of the programs, you know how much we speak about that as a first step, as a first level, which is understand who buys what you sell, because that's what's going to propel you to the next level, and it's going to allow you to make decisions from there, right? One thing Eric always says is allow the market research to dictate your activities. Well, if you ain't doing no market research, you can't do no activities. I think that's very plain and simple. I think everybody gets that. So we really wanted to make sure that we honed in on those initial problems and get people more towards the action that everybody wants to do. Because we understand, everybody wants to bid, right? Bidding feels good, so feels like movement's going, but there are prerequisite things that need to happen before that hopefully with the package that we're now coming out with, hopefully with the event, the live event that we're doing specific to certifications, hopefully with the thing we're going to implement that's going to be free to everybody, as well as the virtual boot camp that we're doing for the certifications. Awesome. Hopefully that gives everybody more than enough, right, to propel themselves to the next level, right? So that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that not only did you get the early information, right, but you were able to propel to the next level. So I really hope we did that today. We did spend a lot of time to ensure that this event came out great, and that not only were we getting away from the traditional, him hopping on a YouTube live, him talking to everybody, but we're doing a real organized presentation, really spitting out the facts, but also breaking it down to the point where everybody can understand, right? Because I feel like there's always this gap, right? So Eric talks, and he's very high level, right? He's going to talk about things that we may not understand. So that's why I'm here sometimes, and we have other people here to comb through a lot of the teachings, comb through a lot of the lessons, and to really say, okay, make sure you're actually talking to regular people, right? Don't just talk to people in the industry, but talk to the normal person who doesn't know a lot, but still wants to learn, right? So that's what I do. I do a lot of the combing through and understanding, because I understand the principles as well, but I'm going to break it down so a person my age can understand, right? A person who doesn't have the federal contracting knowledge can still get the nuggets that we're talking about. So like I said, I really hope that was essentially that's what we're doing today in this. So any questions in the chat? Okay. I do know I said a lot, obviously, but I wanted to make sure that, I do answer some of the questions. Now, we did get some emails already. So if you did send in an email, the first thing we're going to have to do, because I have my assistant on the emails, is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to email you back telling that we got the answer, right? Because we're not going to send the payment link until after the event. So you should get an email response saying that you're not going to get the payment link for that scale until after the event. So just understanding that, I do want you to first start with that. But any questions in the chat? Let's see. You would know which 90 to do based off of your TML locating your agencies. What's up, Juliet? Exactly. You're going to know what to do based off of that. So, but I do know that we had a whole boot camp about TMLs, and I'm not sure if everybody got it, right? So that's what we kind of aim to do. We're going to go ahead and cut that out for you because it's very easy for us to do. I can do it pretty simple. Also, if you have OpenGovIQ, OpenGovIQ does a lot of the research for you, right? So even if you didn't win the OpenGovIQ 1 year free, and even if you don't sign up basically for the package, you can still get OpenGovIQ separately, and that should be able to tell Eric to turn off his mic. Okay, I'll make sure to do that. Let me go ahead and text. All right. So I did tell him to turn off his mic, but I do think that now is the time that we're going to switch over to the interviews. So thank you, everybody, for having the time to talk to me. And we're now going to close out and switch over to the interviews. So you guys have a great one. I'll see you on the calls. Send those emails. Get scale. Send scale to hello@govcon.edu. We'll talk to you soon.
That's an interesting culture. Okay. All right, got the X-File joint. That's from the X-Files. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. But just think though, if you gonna go out your way to take your trash home, at home your house is gonna be straight. You know what I mean?
All right, so we're back and we're upstairs, and like I said, I told you guys we're going to be bringing you some special guests today, and I want to introduce my first guest, Mr. Sean Kingsbury. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. Glad to be here, man.
Good, same here. Thank you for coming.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
It's funny because people say it was last minute notice, but I gave 3 weeks notice.
3 weeks is good.
All right. I mean, I can't think of what I'm doing 6 months from now anyway.
That's right. Well, you got to think. Now everything's about, 28 characters and the likes, right? So you got to be able to, you got to move fast, right?
I like that.
Mhm.
And so you are at our conference last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think?
The conference was fantastic. You had a great lineup of people, great speakers, and I got to tell you, I enjoyed the feedback from the audience, which are members of the organization. I just thought it was fantastic. Great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, we work really hard to give people real value, and that's why I said at our event, we said, look, how many people actually we've helped in some way, whether it's learning or making money, and you can see like the hands raise up. So tell us about your current role now, where you work at, and what is it that your role, what you do?
Okay, so I'm with SAIC. So I'm the VP of Cybersecurity, and I'm also the account executive for the Department of Treasury.
Okay.
So that's interesting, right? Because it's a balance between really helping the civilian side of the government from a cybersecurity perspective, but also when you look at the Department of Treasury, it's a pretty large, significant contract, right? Because we recently were awarded the T-Cloud contract.
Okay.
And that's about I'd say it's about a $1.3 billion contract. So on top of that, it's a lot going on when you look at what it means to actually deliver services and value, and keep the ball moving, right?
Right.
I mean, because when you start looking at the impact of the Department of Treasury, you start looking at tax season and the like. So the goal is to make sure that we support the mission and make sure services get delivered.
Now, today we're talking about scaling with certifications. Do you guys ever work with any small businesses?
Always work with small businesses. We're partners with small businesses. Several of our contracts have requirements for a percentage of small businesses that we have to actually bring in as subs, right, and have CTA partners and the likes. So we have a great ecosystem of small businesses that we work with, especially on the cybersecurity side.
Now, and I'm going to start my timer because I will just talk forever. Someone keep me on track with the time, please. All right. Okay, you work with a lot of small businesses. You just said you just want a new contract. When you win contracts like that, do you already have a team of small businesses going in? Is there opportunity for new small businesses to come on it? Like, how does that work? When should we come to you? Do we come to you before the opportunity gets let, or after we discovered it or we see it publicly, like on the news somewhere?
Both, right? So
okay.
when you are capturing these large deals, typically there are requirements that you know that you're going to have to meet that or we're going to require a percentage of the business be small businesses, right?
Sure.
So at that point, and we have a whole process of small businesses that come in, and then a lot of times I turn into that POC, right, where they route the small businesses to me, and I end up having the conversations with them and looking across the business, right, to see where they would fit, even if it doesn't connect into the opportunity that we're currently capturing or opportunities that we're capturing, but also later, right? Because with us, it's not just about the contracts that we're going after or the contracts that we're awarded, but also SAIC invest in what we call the innovation factory.
Okay.
And the innovation factory builds solutions and invest in solutions so our clients don't have to, right? Especially when you look at cybersecurity, AI, cloud, data, and the likes. And as we go through building these solutions, in many cases, we end up partnering with vendors, product companies, small businesses as well. That begins to be a part of the ecosystem of what it means to deliver these services.
So how would I go about, I mean, you guys are a big organization. Right? How many people do you have?
I don't want to give you a number right now.
All right,
right?
no,
It's flexible, right?
That's okay, but it's tens of thousands.
Yes.
Okay, right. So tens of thousands of people. I'm sure there's, hundreds of departments.
Yes.
Right. Where do we start the process of going into an organization like yours?
Well, we have a small business POC, right? A person that's a point. And I'll give you that information that you can share.
Okay.
Right? But basically, it's an input for all small businesses that want to actually do business with SAIC.
Yeah.
And then this is what I was saying. Small businesses hit this young lady, and then this young lady
comes and
routes
bounces
to
up
me,
you.
right? So like I said, and it's and we try and vet. We try and do the best we can to be straight up, right? Have real honest conversations. This is a potential fit. This is how this makes sense, or it doesn't, right? But we give small businesses the opportunity to present what their solutions are, what their capabilities are, what their past performance is, and then we kind of weigh that out because, again, we deal with DOD and civilian, federal and state and local. And when you look at it through that lens, right, now you start to, that's different between the different small businesses, right? Some small businesses are great for DOD.
Yeah.
Some small businesses haven't supported federal at all, but have supported SLED. Right. So we try and then what we do is we'll connect them up with the right leaders in the specific sectors.
Okay. One of the things that when I talk to any group, whether it's government or a large business, is like do your research, right? I'm sure you say the same thing, right?
Well, you want to come with your act together, right? I mean, first off, to be able to have the level of access that I just described that doesn't exist in many large integrators, right? So when you come in, you want to make sure that, one, you've done your research on what we do, right? Potentially where you think you would like to be able to work, right? And be able to have a good way to actually talk through what your services are in a professional fashion.
Okay. Is there any place that you could steer us to? I mean, to learn about that, like kind of what your needs are, where you're going, maybe some of the future things that you're looking at.
So our CEO talks about it. We have, if you go to SAIC.com, you'll actually see messages from our CEO.
What's her name?
Tony Townsend.
Tony, there you go. Yeah. Someone said I need to get her on our podcast.
Hey, we might be able to make that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I think one of our speakers today, it might be Erica Dobbs, said you need to get Tony on their show.
Tony is fantastic. She's a breath of fresh air. Her energy is amazing, and the way she shifted our direction has actually it's resulted in extreme growth, right? And it's making a difference.
So, you have a woman CEO.
That's right.
Love it. That's awesome.
And she is fantastic.
That's awesome. No, that's great. So now, okay, so again, we know some of the directions you're going in. We know you work with small businesses. Are there any areas right now that you could use help from small businesses that, maybe high level stuff?
I'm going to tell you right now, when you look at what's going on in the space of cyber,
yes,
I think interesting ideas, new ideas cutting edge approaches, when you start to look at agentic AI and the play that it's going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I always say, when we talk about AI, it's depends on what side of the coin you're looking at, right?
Right.
It's either really great or we're in a lot of trouble.
Sure.
Right. I mean, because when you look at the impact on from a jobs perspective with AI, there's concern, but also there's opportunity when you look at the small businesses and large businesses that's actually leaning in to actually say, hey, with agentic AI and agents now, I want to actually enable us to work at the speed of a computer versus the speed of a human. So now I don't want to just be told, these are my risks, these are my vulnerabilities. I want it to be able to say, okay, I've fixed these, right? These are done, right? And to be able to give you quantifiable metrics that says, because I did this, this is how much risk we have decreased quantifiably, right? This is how much time we have saved. This is how much we've decreased manpower that's needed. But at the same time now, time in some cases equals funds, right? Revenue.
Yeah.
And by decreasing risk, decreases your risk exposure.
It's interesting that you say that, because I like that next level thought, right? Because people are still doing simple inputs, but you're like, no, I need some information that I can useful information, data that I can pull from. Another thing to think about is, I remember I interviewed this guest for my podcast, and his company's whole thing was helping large companies like yours manage risk, right? As opposed to gain, right? Opportunity gain. So it's like, hey, we've got these contracts, make sure that our contracts are compliant at the federal, state, and local levels, make sure we're meeting all the goals, like things like that. Were those some potential solutions that
Yes.
you're looking for?
Yes, all across. Because
Boom.
the more anything that's gonna be looked at as value, outcome based, right? It's because that's what it's about now. It's not about the widget. It's about what's the big problem that's being solved and what's the value that's coming out the other end. And when you can zoom out and say, okay, what are the big problems that need to be addressed from a I'm gonna say from a government perspective, and as soon as you look at that, now you say, okay, what's the opportunity? The opportunity now is we actually I guess the politically correct way to say it is, now the government has been right-sized, right? Meaning we have a lot of folks that have gone into retirement.
Yep.
Now you need hands or AI agents or AI services to actually enable the government to do more with less. So that includes all of the things that you just said, including the operational tasks.
Right.
If there are small businesses that have those types of solutions, those types of capabilities, bring those to the table, because guess what? We need them.
Say, call me, huh?
Yep, come on, bring it. And then the young lady that I'll be directing you to will be directing you all to me.
Okay, all right, well, that's okay. I mean, I think I know who it is. I know a lot of people in the industry, so I think I know who it is. Are there any agencies or offices that, maybe if I have some relationships with, that you maybe have any interest in that you could talk about? Maybe if I'm working with, I don't know, CDC or something like that, there may be some interest for you guys. Is there anything that you guys are looking at that maybe people listening, because we're gonna have thousands of people watch this. Is there anything that you want a request, or anybody has any type of capability specifics that they might be listening? Anything?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna talk broad. Right?
Yeah.
I think across the civilian government.
Okay.
I think any small business that actually has value and relationships, but value that you could bring to the table, that you may have insight. Right.
Right.
Okay. So I'll put on my former government hat. When I was on the government side, I knew about the problems that we weren't even talking about, right? And when you're embedded in certain departments, you may have insight to problems that haven't been surfaced, right? So from my perspective, I'm saying, hey, if you have that insight, because what we want to do is help, right? Again, I left government to help government.
Gotcha.
So the goal is to say, hey, if you are actually coming in with some insight, let's have a real conversation about what that means and what problems we can solve, what value we can deliver, and how we can help the government. Because right now, honestly, the government needs a lot of help right now.
Oh, man, that's great. Well, listen, I appreciate you today, brother. I appreciate you coming out, supporting us and our cause. This is great. I will look forward to that information that you pass along.
I'm going to give it to you. Right?
So we can share it with people on here.
See, that way you'll have the exact names, email address, telephone
Everything.
number. We're going to make sure you have.
We're gonna make sure you have everything out here.
We're going to take care of you.
Is there any upcoming events or anything that we should be looking forward to attending that you could think of?
So we're getting ready to start a LinkedIn Live.
Ooh.
And it's going to be a series of sessions talking about secure cloud.
Okay.
Right. And when we're talking about secure cloud, it's all of the areas, right? Because it's now you can't talk secure cloud without talking AI, because now the secure piece of that needs to work at the speed of computer versus a human.
Right.
And now when you start to look at compliance, it's not just about how can I be compliant, but now how can, through AI and automation, I stay compliant at the speed of computer. So now we start talking about cognitive cyber, right? When you say, hey, now the goal is to enable AI to actually fix the problem, solve the problem, stay compliant, and give you visibility across the disparate systems that's helping you run the organization. So we're going to be talking about these, and we're going to be bringing partners on to have these conversations, and from CSPs to former government leaders as well, to give their insights on it as well. But LinkedIn Live, that's something big that's going to be coming very soon.
I love it. You know me, I'm a social media guy, so anything social media, I'm down for it.
Well, I'm going to make sure you get the invite.
Make sure I get an invite so I can push it out to the people.
That's right.
And I'm also I'm looking at doing some more stuff here locally as well. So
awesome.
If you guys continue support, I appreciate it.
Well, anything we can do to help.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
Good talk. All right, guys. So while we're waiting for our next guest to come up, as we're trying to figure out this camera situation, I'll keep the conversation going, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Hey, brother.
You bet.
Talk to you soon. Thanks. Yeah. So I hope everybody enjoyed that interview, and listen, it's good when we get to hear sometimes from large businesses. Come on in. Yeah, as we bring our next guest up, I'm just talking to us, keep everybody going. I'm just keeping the conversation rolling. I didn't know it was everybody's wearing neutral colors. See,
Well, I wasn't told what
I wasn't told
like.
either. I love those colors. I promise you. They told me when I come to DC, you got to wear blues and grays, like. When you go to,
I wanted to switch it up from like the normal, black.
I got you. I think you look fabulous.
Thank
I love
you.
it myself. So, Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thank you. Are we good on this side? We good? All right, perfect. All right. So why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Thank you for having me.
No,
My
thank you
name
for
is
coming.
Megan Lehman. I'm a partner with Player Mazda. I specialize in small business, anything small business, government contracting.
Yeah, no, and how long have we known each other now?
It's
been a
long time.
It's getting longer, right?
Every year,
Yeah,
it gets
we're
more.
getting older together now. I feel like
We're growing together.
We're growing together. I think that's awesome. So, tell us about your law firm. I know you specialize in small business. You've been on our show talking about different civil issues. Actually, we've had 3 or 4 people
Yes.
talking about civil issues. So what are some of the things right now that are affecting certifications in small businesses that people should know about? I know it's a lot. Right? I know you don't have enough time, but
I could be here for hours.
let's just start with some of the hot topics that you want to cover today.
Well, with the switch to the administration, the level of certification approvals is down.
Okay.
So it's even more important. It is taking longer to get your applications in if you don't already have them in, if you don't already have any certifications. But it is small business is still alive and well.
Mm-hmm. Good news.
The overhaul for FAR Part 19 just came out.
Okay. And by the way, for everyone listening, what's FAR Part 19?
It's the FAR federal acquisition regulation that discusses small business issues.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So the overhaul for FAR Part 19, the small business portion, it's been overhauled. We said that the small business is alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is if your certification is just taking longer.
Yes.
I personally can attest to that. Okay. So what other some things that are happening that we should be aware of?
If you're 8A in the construction field, the bona fide place of business requirement is back on as of Wednesday.
All right. So again, what she's discussing is when I first started doing government contracts, we had to set up an office in another location that we wanted to do sole source work for.
Yep.
And we had to physically have people work in the office, and the government would come out and check us to make sure that we actually had an office in that location before we could start competing for contracts.
Yep.
If I'm saying something wrong, stop me,
Nope.
Megan. Okay. So again, when I tell people, like, when we started, things were a lot harder because they had all these different rules that I think sometimes because people don't have the historical data to go from, they're like, this is so hard. I'm like, no, this was way harder before for the last. So
It's definitely easier now.
yeah, it's a lot easier now for people because, again, this has been since COVID. They took the rule out of place, right?
Yeah, the moratorium's been in effect, since COVID. So
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years. You could basically go after contracts anywhere and not have a physical office and get sole source and set aside contracts.
Construction work, yeah.
Yeah, construction work.
Yes,
Right,
specifically construction.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm a construction guy, so
Yeah.
that affects me. That's why I knew that rule.
I know. We've talked about it.
I know these rules because they all hurt me. It's so capacity. So that's why I know all these rules, not because I actually just start reading far, because I'm like, what do you mean I can't do that? They're like, no, there's rule in place. So, if you didn't take advantage of it, unfortunately, sorry, it's too late. Now you have to go back to the old way of
and
doing
get
things.
approved.
And get approved. Okay, which is already taking longer.
Yes.
So it doesn't help you. So now if you got opportunities in a place.
And now there's no one right there to approve you at the moment.
And now, right, exactly. Because right now, what's happening with the government is shut down. There's no one to actually approve you. I'll tell you something funny. Well, it's not funny to me, but so one of my real estate properties, I have an EIDL loan, or EIDL, however you want to say it.
EIDL, I don't
EIDL.
know. Yeah.
So I'm selling that property. I'm supposed to close next week. I can't get the payoff from SBA.
Good luck.
So, in a real estate market that's declining, and I need to exit this property.
Yes.
I need my payoff so I could close.
Well, good luck.
So that's part of the. So that's some of the challenges. But again, you've been doing this for a while. Can you talk about any of the success stories of some of your clients who've leveraged
Yes,
certifications?
Of course. My favorite kind of leading someone from kind of cradle to grave, helping get someone in the 8A program, just as an example, watching them go through 9 years or getting close to their exit and then saying, you know what, I think I'm going to sell. And then we help them with their transition out from the 8A world. So it does happen. There are, lots of success stories.
I love
Or a lot of companies look to sell maybe midway or so through the program, especially if they're looking maybe to potentially sell to an entity-owned firm, maybe an ANC, a tribe, an NHO, et cetera. The rules have changed a lot over the years in terms of how to go about that process, doing it, especially with a lot of the changes that have been in place since January for recertification.
Yep.
8A adds a whole nother layer of complexity when you're dealing with changing ownership and control if you hold any 8A contracts. There's a lot more rules and regulations that you got to follow. But I help a lot of clients not just get 8A certification, but with their SDVOSB, women-owned, HUBZone, all of that good stuff, and just helping them maintain compliance, with those certifications. A lot of people don't fully understand or realize that it's an ongoing compliance. You're reporting annually or triannually, depending on which certification program you're in. You need to continue to comply. And there's a lot of nits and things that maybe people don't realize, like getting approval if you need an outside job for additional income, if you're no longer the highest compensated. There's a lot of things that go into it that people just may not even realize are requirements. And then when something comes up, then we're trying to figure it out on the back end as opposed to getting out ahead of it from the front end.
It's interesting. I remember this guy near where I lived in Palm Beach, and he was in an 8A program. And someone came to him and said, hey, Eric, this guy's a very successful commercial contractor. He's never been able to figure this 8A thing out. Can you help him? When I came to him, I checked his registration. I go, hey, your 8A is lapsed. And he said, lapsed? And he goes, I said, yeah, did you do a renewal?
Yeah.
He didn't do his annual renewal. And he was kicked out of the program. And
That's rough because it's a one-time eligibility. You get one shot.
right. And you know, it's unfortunate because he didn't know how to leverage it. I mean, it could have done wonders for him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at that point, he was already at like 20 million a year. So I mean, he could have really leveraged this
I mean,
program.
it's
Yeah.
significant.
But unfortunately, because he didn't have the right people working with him, he didn't know how to do it. He didn't, you know, someone just told him to get it. He got it, and it just kind of sat there. No one was checking, and he lost his one-time shot.
Doing a lot of self-marketing, you know, especially as an 8A company, especially with the sole source ability, that's not going away. Being an 8A is still like the primo, you know, certification.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, trying to advertise and market yourself for teaming opportunities, mentor protege, joint ventures. I mean, those are all massive things that if you're not doing it, your competitors are doing it.
Right.
So
Fair.
you need to, that's definitely where I would recommend, you know, someone, especially now where there's less opportunities available, less contracting opportunities, trying to do those teaming arrangements either through a prime sub or a joint venture and so forth is really going to be, you know, where people got to go.
Yeah, so today we're talking about skill and certification. The first thing I talk about is attention, right? I mean, letting people know you exist. Like, I think a lot of times they, like you said self-marketing. I know what that is. Can you tell people what self-marketing is? Because I don't think people understand. I mean, it's self-explanatory, but I mean, remember, we have an attorney here, so she's speaking from legal language, what that self-marketing is.
When I speak, I try to put it into, you know, layman's terms as much as possible.
Okay.
But I mean, go out and market yourself and tell people you exist. What are your capabilities? Have a capability statement. You know, what is your elevator pitch?
I love it. No, let me tell you, it's funny because all those things are in the free guide that we're giving people today in our skill and certifications workbook, which is, again, have something to say, right? You know, I said, you need to either have a high value proposition or be very charming. That's what I was like.
Personality will get you there.
Personality gets you there. It gets you in the rooms all the time. You see? So when you guys see that in the workbook, remember this conversation that Megan and I had today. Because I've met a lot of people, and it typically happens to be IT people that they really they lack in some of the other soft skills.
I love IT people.
Soft skills. The soft skills area they can improve in. You know. So all you IT people, I love you too. But some of your soft skills area, you have to do a better job on some of the soft skills. I mean, your technicals, you're crushing it. But on the soft skills is really where, you know, people are going to notice you.
Well, and play into your strengths too. I mean, in the certifications, I mean, given the topic, they're still valuable.
Absolutely.
Large businesses still have to subcontract with you.
Sure.
You can still go out and get sole source work. You can still go out and get set-aside work. So
Right.
having those certifications, to the extent you don't already have them, get on it because it's taking a little while.
There you go. Right. So if you don't have it, just get on it. It's taking a while. The company that sold, what industry were they in?
Construction.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. I was thinking
do a
IT.
lot of work with construction companies. A lot of IT, a lot of construction. I mean, they're kind of all over.
But I would have
all
never
over the
thought
place.
construction companies were sold. Wow. You know, so that's a great story. And you said some people sell midway.
Yeah. More 8As are not necessarily waiting. It is harder, especially if you're looking to sell to just any company, not necessarily a tribe or ANC, et cetera. 8A companies may actually be less valuable to the extent they hold current 8A contracts, because a lot of those contracts, there's a potential that they will get terminated.
Right.
So it is a little bit more challenging to sell an 8A company to someone that doesn't already qualify or doesn't qualify for one of the waivers where normally the contracts would be terminated for convenience.
Okay.
So if you can find someone that maybe wants to step into the shoes and continue on, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
But we are seeing more companies looking to sell, and it's not necessarily because they just don't want to finish the program, but they've gotten what they needed to out of the first couple, 3, 4, 5 years of the program. So they're kind of just looking for a change at that point.
Well, that's interesting. I have a friend of mine he's I don't know if he's 8A. I know he's definitely a service-able veteran, but he's acquired some fairly substantial contracts, and he's looking to cash out some resources.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that a lot more now, people?
There's, I mean, a lot of transactions, a lot of moving going on, especially given the recertification rules and what's going into effect January of next year.
Okay.
I do expect there to be more transactions. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the year, so if you're not already on that path, it might be a little too late, just given all of the diligence and things that have to go through. But there are some significant changes coming to the recertification rules. I mean, they're already in place, but even more so starting in January 17th.
So that means when you're recertifying your whatever socioeconomic, okay.
Yeah, there could be some more negative impacts potentially,
Okay.
depending on who's acquiring you, the size, the status of them, what type of contracts the company holds, et cetera. So.
Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. We like success stories. We also like people selling. I think that's great. I think a lot of, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I personally, again, I'm not from this area. I'm an engineer by degree, not by practice at all. But I think M&A is becoming more and more attractive. Are you seeing some smaller companies acquire companies as well?
Yes, definitely. It's not necessarily the large eating the small. It can go the other way for sure. Absolutely. And a lot of, it's not, you can't really buy or acquire past performance. That's not really a thing. It's a common misconception. But you can use those assets and resources, to your advantage down the road. So no, absolutely. It definitely is going both ways in my experience.
Is that something that you guys work with?
Absolutely.
Okay. What would be the first thing that I need to start? If I'm thinking about acquiring a company, what should I due diligence? What should I be thinking about? I mean, I don't know.
Well, first you probably want to get a letter of intent, an LOI in place.
Okay.
And an NDA in place.
Okay.
Make sure you can kind of have those free discussions, without concern that your information might be shared elsewhere.
Okay.
But diligence, absolutely. We are seeing, unfortunately, people want to move, they want the deal closed yesterday. They're like, diligence, whatever.
Sure.
But that is the most important process as you're going through the transaction. You want to make sure you're not setting yourself up for certain liabilities or risks. Particularly if you're the one acquiring a company. So
Gotcha.
Diligence is very important.
Nice.
And having, unfortunately, counsel on both sides.
Sure. Now, you better have some counsel. I mean, I don't think you can even acquire without counsel.
There are companies that try, and we strongly encourage them to retain counsel.
I met a gentleman who told me about a deal that he knew some like PE guys that acquired a company as a service disabled veteran company. They acquired it thinking that they were going to get the contracts. And they didn't even know what novation was.
Okay.
And so they bought this company and they couldn't transfer any of the contracts over, and then essentially had no.
You also want to understand too, especially if you're acquiring maybe not the entire company, but a minority stake in the company, that to the extent the company has a certification or is looking to obtain certifications, can you still comply, with those requirements? I've seen a lot of minority owners, unfortunately, want too much control or say over the company to put their certifications at risk. So having, counsel that is familiar with, especially in the government contracting world and the certifications, is really important when going through any sort of transaction involving a government contractor.
I didn't think about that. Okay, so if I'm looking at of someone that might invest in my company and give me some cash to help grow and expand it, understanding what are the implications of that.
Yeah, if they're coming in just as like an investor and they're getting equity in the business, it depends. Are they a passive investor, and is that correct? Like, is that is that consistent with your operating agreement, your bylaws, whatever the case may be? And then ensuring that you're not accidentally tripping some sort of affiliation concern as well. It's not just a pure control and ownership perspective from a certifications, but also size. especially if you have these PE firms coming in or wanting to, they typically want certain controls that may not be permissible under SBA's regulations. And if they have too much control, that can trip not from just a certification perspective, but also a size perspective as well.
I didn't think about PE could trigger a size perspective. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Well, I mean, even venture capital, huh? Anyone put money in can be triggered. Okay, that's a good.
There's things you definitely want to consider.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. All right. No, these are all great points. I think that this is definitely, again, this is a high level conversation for a lot of people. But for me, I want people to know that you can do all these things, right? All these options are available to you.
Yes.
Right. And, it's not just, and not that there's nothing wrong with low hanging fruit, but it's not just low hanging fruit, right? We're talking about actual scale growth and strategies to exit successfully and actually, have real assets.
And I mean, have that plan in place, have that goal, what's your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, what is your plan, and plan that out to make sure that you can get there and start scaling yourself to get there. You can't, it's hard to just wake up tomorrow and say, all right, I think I'm done with this. I'm going to sell. I mean, how are you going to sell? And to who? And are you trying to keep certifications? What does your contract portfolio look like? Those are all things to kind of keep in mind when you're vetting, potential buyers, or if you're looking to acquire as well. Okay.
All right. No, this is great. What about some, we talk about 8A a lot. What about some of these other programs?
Which ones do you want to talk about?
I mean, let's start with the women-owned program.
Okay.
We know that there's been challenges with the women-owned small business program. Where do you see it going? What do you say to, is it, what's happening? Is there any changes to it? Are they trying to make it stronger? Are they,
I would say it's pretty status quo. I don't think it's necessarily getting stronger, but I don't think it's necessarily getting, for lack of a better term, worse per se.
Okay.
It is, WOSB is unique in the sense of there are certain NAICE codes of North American Industry Classification System codes that can be assigned a women-owned small business contract or an economically disadvantaged women-owned small business contract. So it's unlike other programs where any sort of NAICE code qualifies for that type of set-aside. There's only, it's still a lot, but it's not the totality of the NAICE codes available. So that is unique to the WOSB field, where some companies are adamant, I want WOSB. I was like, well, do you do work under, here's hundreds of codes, but do you do work under any of these codes? And they're like, actually, no. I was like, then it may not be entirely relevant for you to go down that path. The WOSB certification, at least what I have seen recently is you're still looking, you could be looking at close to a year to get certified. So it is taking a while, but at the same time, it is still, because of the certification requirement, it is still good to have for subcontracting opportunities as well. The WOSB program is also unique in the sense of, because of that year-long time period, you can actually submit your application, and as long as it's substantially complete and submitted, like you've submitted and you haven't received a negative determination, you can continue to bid on work to the government saying, I have submitted a complete application and I haven't received a negative determination. So that year-long application process will not hold you up on a WOSB set-aside.
Oh, that's great news.
That is the only program that you can do that for.
Hey, okay. All right. So everybody who stood around, look, Megan just gave us a free game. Okay. So WOSB program. Okay. I love it. Let's just go down the list. Veteran program. Service disabled veteran-owned small business program.
There is something on the table where veteran-owned might be more of a thing.
Maybe.
We got to watch out for the NDAA. It has passed through the House, so there may be more of a preference outside of the VA for VOSB. But other than that, right now, it's it's SDVOSB, across the board. SDVOSB, in my experience, is processing faster
Okay.
than women-owned or 8A or any of the other ones. So I am seeing that moving a little bit quicker.
Okay. Okay. No, I mean, that's interesting that you mentioned that the VOSB, there may be some things on the table
Maybe.
for it. I mean, I just made a video about it. I'm like, look, this is, out of all the certifications, this is the most useless. Unfortunately,
The VOSB,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's not that many. VA is the only agency that can use it,
Right.
and 9 times out of 10 they're going to go, or 9.9 times out of 10 really, they're going
Right.
to go SDVOSB.
Yeah.
So it is, I mean, good to have, but I mean, especially on some of these bigger GWACs, if they could have a small business subcontracting goal solely for VOSBs. Like, that is possible.
Right.
So there could be, self-market yourself there.
It's possible, not practical.
But we'll have to keep an eye on the NDAA and see how that shapes up. I think a similar proposal was in place last year. It ultimately didn't go anywhere, but I mean, new administration, we'll see.
All right, nice, love it. What other tips you have people listening about their leveraging their certifications? What can you say? Should we close out?
I mean, kind of just going back to what I started with, like, continue to self-market, self-promote, have your capabilities ready to go, not just for prime sub opportunities, but also to market to agencies. I mean, continue to attend conferences. I know it's been an interesting year, to
Right.
say the least, especially right now, but you never know who you may meet, especially on the federal side. And if, you're putting yourself out there for a small enough contract, maybe you're eligible for a sole source. Who knows?
Makes sense. Megan, thank you so much. I
Thank
love
you
it.
for having me.
That was great. All right. So again, as we are switching up here, I learned something. I'm always learning things. This is new to me. Hold on. They don't want me to sit up. Thank you, Will. Always a pleasure. So again, I'm always learning things. This is new for me, and I'm excited to share. So we've heard from 2 of our speakers today, and we heard about the laws and the procurement and regulations and what's coming down the pipeline. We've also talked about opportunities with some of the large businesses as well. And so, again, there's a lot of things that you can do with your certifications that I hope we're able to give you some information that you didn't have before starting today. And that was my goal, right, is that I didn't want to waste anybody's time. I know everybody's time is important and it's precious and it's valuable. So, that's why, I didn't mind investing and putting something like this together. I can't read it bigger. Yeah, that's why I didn't mind. Yeah, that's why I didn't mind taking and investing the time and energy in doing this. And also, the resources, because all this stuff takes money, it takes coordination, it takes having people here, it takes having staff here, and getting everyone to align and getting everyone time is not necessarily an easy thing. So, I hope everybody's getting a tremendous amount of value out of this. I will say, I kind of mentioned downstairs where I was talking was that I personally never had a certification. And so if you missed me saying that before, but the strategies that I have deployed has been leveraging other people's certifications, whether it's working with a small business or working with a large business, and combining them together. And so I'm kind of like, I'm the deal maker, right? Putting the things together, putting the people together. And so I personally believe that any one of us has that ability. Anyone else has that skill set. And so what we like to do is, again, teach you how to do it, show you how to do it, be able to help you to have that skill set as well. Because as we've shown you, once you know this stuff, no one can take it from you. It's like anything else you learn, right? But I was talking with one of my podcasts the other day, and he said to me, Eric, I always ask this question now to people, do you believe, like, in college, like, should your kids go to college? And he says, well, I believe that the kids should go learn things that are practical, that they can actually utilize to actually put into their jobs. And I agree with that thought process, right? So if it's something some knowledge that you can utilize that can't be actually put into your actual job, then it more than likely, for the lack of better words, is pretty much a waste of time, with the exception of maybe, it has some future application down the road. But for the majority of us, we're looking at learning skills that translate into earning potential, earning power, and dollars. And that's what we've been talking about today, is this skill that can translate for you, your business, your family, anyone around you, associates, partners, into direct dollars, revenues that later you can take that, and like Megan just said, we could eventually sell your company, be acquired. Or if you want it to actually scale and grow, you can actually do the acquiring, right? So both scenarios are happening. There's a lot of deals happening, a lot of transactions happening. I've got some friends that are doing acquiring businesses. I've got friends that are strategic partnering with companies. I got friends that are teaming with businesses. So I see the whole gamut. I'm privileged enough, fortunate enough to sit at the level where I get a chance to know all these wonderful people and these great guests and people across the board, all sides of the aisle. And so I come to you with that expertise that I have acquired through my associations, conversations, talks, and things like this, where we get people together. So, I mean, just imagine that we literally, if you were here and you had a chance to have these high-level conversations with these people that we're having. So imagine that, right? What is that worth you? What is the value of that? What is the value of having a law firm that, is one of the top law firms in the space, right, for government contracting, being able to get, even 20 minutes of knowledge, even get 30 minutes of knowledge. And so that value is priceless, So again, for me, what I would say to everybody is that, this, take it serious. Don't just treat it like another YouTube video, like if you're trying to fix your toilet or if you're trying to put a chair together, or you're trying to put a desk together. This is far more valuable than that. This is, the nuances, the differences between, $0, $50,000, $100,000, $2 million. There's stark differences. So, when you look at that, I mean, that alone is worth spending 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, sitting through. Again, I'm here speaking for 5 hours. And so, for me, putting my time, having my son come in from another country to be here to help me support this, having friends of mine helping to volunteer in the background, and then also asking friends, these guests who are high profile people that have now become friends of mine to come here and speak to you guys. I mean, all of those things, they have value to it, associated with it, right? Because, I mean, this is Saturday. I'm asking people to give up part of their Saturdays to come and be with us so that they can be with you guys to give you guys this information. So, I mean, we know what lawyers cost. Anybody who's ever tried to reach out to a large business like a SAIC, I guarantee you, you know how challenging it is. I guarantee you did not get through on the first try. You probably didn't get through on the 5th try or the 10th try, right? Because it's not easy, right? Those people are not easy to talk to. They're not easy to get in front of, right? They have hundreds, if not thousands of people reaching out to them daily to try to get on their schedules, to try to get meetings with them, to try to get in front of them. That's what's all the difference. So, I say that because, again, I know I'm always like preachy, but I'm preachy for a reason. And I do, like Megan said, this time is better than ever. It's better than before. It's better than when I started, right? It's literally easier than when I started. By the way, so let me say something to that, right? It's funny because I remember reading that person's comments about me reading the slides. But I mean, look, if I just go and talk off my dome, I mean, I'll be talking for days. Reading the slides helped keep me on track. So I didn't just start randomly talking about different things. So the slides help keep me on track so I can stay on top of the message. But I mean, I could start preaching to everybody very easily. So let's talk about what it means and how much easier it is. She just said to you that it was easier than it was before, right? There's something else that I think everybody missed. and Brandon, I want people to that's in the chat that's listening to this. I think you guys missed this. So we talked about not having competition, right? Remember, everybody says nobody wants the competition. I don't want competition, right? You know, Lewis, you don't want competition. I don't want any competition. Like, how do we build a moat for ourselves? So they literally said, she said to you that certification process, the camera's right there, it's showing me. No, it's not. Okay. So they literally said that the certification process is being held up. So it's harder to get, if you are a women-owned small business, taking a year to get it. So what I see that is, you got 1 year where people can't even get the same certification as you. So they can't even do the things that you can do right now with those certifications. And some of you are sitting on it and taking it for granted. They have people, the biggest complaint that I hear is that people that are in these programs are running it up because the rest of us can't get in the programs. And so they're literally, so if you have any of these 4 certifications and you are not, like she said, self-marketing, and you're not going out and talking to people and making the connections, you are burning your time, you're burning your money, you're wasting all this resource, because I can tell you, you know, when and y'all know I'm personally now going after a big certification. When I get my stuff, I'm hitting the ground running. And I mean, I say that because it's not just me, right? Like when you listen to billionaires talk, they said they're worried about the competition all the time because the competition is coming for you. You just can't necessarily see them, but they're coming for your lunch. So you can't necessarily see the people coming for you, but somebody's coming for you. So the more that you sit on it, the more you do nothing with it, the more you don't leverage it, the more you take it for granted, the more that you decide that, well, you know, I'm good over here, and the more that you don't press on it, then the more likely it's going to be less valuable, less meaningful, less significant, because someone else is pushing that pedal. And I grant it, I don't, like I said, some of the certifications of women-owned small business, they don't meet all their goals, but they're still giving out billions of dollars. They still give out billions of dollars. And she just, in fact, said you could technically get a contract as a woman-owned small business without having the cert because you weren't disapproved. How much more information do you need to have? Like, that to me was the worth price of attendance today. Knowing that you could potentially get a set aside without having a certification because you're in the system and that's legal and allowable. She just gave you guys a free consultation that was worth, I don't know, a $2,000-$3,000 retainer. Think about that. I mean, if you had called them up and asked them, one of the top law firms in the country, for to talk to them about, you know, some strategies, you know, you'd have had to pay a retainer. And so that alone, coming on here and giving it to me, was worth her attendance. So notwithstanding some of the other stuff that she talked about, selling the businesses, acquiring businesses, all of these other things. So while, you know, we're sitting here contemplating, okay, pushing something off to next month, you know, next 3 months, you know, next year, 6 months, you know, the longer you wait, the more time goes by, then the less likely you are to do it. I actually saw this quote that said, it's actually very arrogant to think that you're going to do something in the future that you won't do today. Process that. It's very arrogant of you to think, hey, I've got time today, Saturday, to do this. I'm going to put it off for Sunday where I have more time. That's an arrogant, because if you can't do it today when you have time, what makes you think that you're going to be able to do it tomorrow? And that's some of the rut that a lot of us get into, is continuing to push off things that we can do today for tomorrow. And the biggest regret of my successful podcast guests, does anybody know that? Does anybody guess what might be the biggest regret of my most successful podcast guests? Can anybody guess what might be their biggest regret? The top people, you know, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. The biggest regret they have. Can anybody guess? Has anybody put anything in the chat? Brandon, can anybody guess what might be their biggest regret? Okay. What we got? I'm sorry? Who wrote that? KBS. Correct. My man KBS. Not starting sooner. That's it. That's the biggest regret. You've been watching some of my shows. The biggest regret of my podcast guest is not starting sooner. Because once you figure it out and once you're on this trajectory, like you're like, man, I should have did this 2 years ago. I should have did this 3 years ago. Lewis, right? You know, like you think to yourself, dang, right? If I knew what I know today, if I had done it 3 years ago, where would I be now? That is what happens to us. We don't realize it because you don't necessarily see yourself in that position, right? I'm always the person that sees you there before you see yourself, because I believe in all the people around me. I believe we have made more enough aptitude. We got enough education. You don't need no more education. Like I said before, you don't need no education. Lewis, how long have I been saying you don't need more education? Listen, my man Lewis in the studio here. I've been saying you do not need more education, guys. Listen, everybody's like, I want to know A through Z. I want to know double A, now through double Z. I'm like, man, look, we got Roman numerals next. You don't need more education. You need more application. And this is where we fall short, is in application, not education. So I hope that, like I said, through these experiences, through this particular webinar today, that we could continue showing you and proving that to be the case, right? That you don't need more education, that you need more application. And then that you also, right, take the things that we showed you, put them to work, okay? Start putting these things to work right away, because it's really could be the life or death of your business. So, you know, again, I have plenty more examples to talk through, plenty more examples to show. But I want to hear back from you in the comments and chats while we're waiting for our guests to come up. We've got some, you know, obviously, you know, we've got issues, and it happens. But put your questions, comments in the chat. Let me know what you think. Like I said, we are excited to host people, and we're excited to connect with the DC community. I will be speaking at a lot more events here. We'll be engaging with more small business professionals, more agencies, offices, partners like SAIC. We're looking and working with relationships with some of the companies that are doing some of the revolutionary technologies, and like I said, agentic AI and space, energy, power, battery storage, you know, digital infrastructure, you know, all, you name it, you know, data centers, cloud, right? All those different topics. So, all right, let's see. What do we have in the chat? Playing it too safe. Correct. No action taken. Correct. Shelly, not building relationships. Correct. Actually, the guest that's coming up now, she literally said that. That was her biggest regret, was that she changed her phone number a lot. She didn't keep in contact with any of the people that she met on the way up. So that was one of her biggest regrets. What else? But yeah, Richard, you hit the nail in the coffin. Just really not doing this sooner. Rudolph Jack says, can you help? I don't know where to meet the key players for my service area certification to get started. So Rudolph, don't worry. We're going to be talking about that when you get on Tuesday in the Scaling with Certifications workbook. We're going to be talking about that as well. So don't worry, all that's covered in your free workbook that you're going to receive on Tuesday. Again, right now, I haven't checked my computers. I've been here teaching and training and waiting for some of our guests to come up. But again, email us right now. We've got 25 spots. I'm not sure how many remaining. Email scale to hello@govconedu.com, right? And take advantage before we close out today. We've got a couple more people coming up. We're going to talk about some additional strategies. And looking forward to all of your questions, comments, concerns, and emails. All right, let's see. Sharon Lewis says, RT Solutions, Fort Worth, Texas, minority-owned business, small disadvantage, veteran-owned, black-owned, say what's it. So, all right, well, Sherman Lewis, it's great to meet you. One of the things that I'm looking at RT Solutions Group, right? Tell me what it is that your business does. So tell me what your business does. I see you listed all your certifications, which are great, but I want to talk about what is it that you guys do. All right, someone says, are anybody in the chat that deals with fiber optics, cabling, network access points, and Cat6 infrastructure? All right, someone says, when you talk to Ms. Dobbs, I'd love to learn about emerging technologies for a trend she believes will be most disruptive or benefit her industry. All right, no problem. When she comes up, I'll be happy to talk to her about it. Facilities management. What's up? What else? If you've enjoyed this conversation so far, put a thumbs up in the chat, right? This took a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, right, to make this happen. Drop a thumbs up in the chat if you guys have enjoyed the conversation so far. I thought, it would be do something a little bit different this time, and I'm happy that we did. This is definitely a different way of reaching the people and communicating. So, this is for me is it's very unique and novel, and so I don't we'll see how it turns out. We'll see the results if people like it or not. Looking forward to the 2-day mastermind, first of its kind that we've done. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and hadn't been able to pull it off. But now that we're in this Beltway space, definitely something that we could pull off. But yeah, tell me, what are you guys most excited about right now? Out of all the things that you've heard today, tell me some of the things that you're most excited about, right? Just drop in the chat. Tell me which one of the strategies that you think that you may implement in your business, right? Getting attention, or maybe there's something that you learned today that you didn't know before, right? I can tell you, I remember several things that I pointed out that a lot of people had not known that was different. So drop in the chat if there's something that you learned today that you didn't know before, right? Tell me. If there's something that we've been able to set line on that caused some clarity in your business, that would be wonderful as well. So again, looking forward to it as we so if you've got anything in here that you want, you've learned today, anything that you shared today, anything that you've learned today, anything that you've learned today, anything that you shared today. So all right, looks like we're bringing up our next speaker. Come on in, my man. I can't stand up, sir, but that's all right, brother. Listen, hey, man, good to see you, brother. Pleasure, man. Listen, I'm happy to have you here today,
Absolutely. Good seeing you.
It's good seeing you.
It's been a while.
I know. It's been a year.
Over.
You're right, because I had my last summit
I think
event.
at least 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. But you know what? Because we've been on emails together.
Yeah.
We've been on some emails together.
So we're still in touch.
Yeah. And then we did a podcast.
Yeah.
We did a podcast, together. Well, now I'm here, local.
You moved to DC?
I moved to Arlington.
No way.
I did.
Well, welcome.
Last month.
Welcome.
So we'll be doing a lot more stuff in the area.
That's fantastic. Beautiful studio. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. We're going to be doing a lot more advocacy.
Yeah.
I know you're a big advocate.
Absolutely. We got to, watch out for ourselves.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And I think that's a great way to start the conversation. And that's why I want to have you, because like you said, I remember the last conversation, they were challenging the 8A program with some of the rules and things like that. And you're like, look, Eric, if you advocated for it, man, I'm support you behind it.
Absolutely. And again, the counter slang that I use, mama don't give milk to the baby don't cry, right? So we always have to, raise our voice, tell us what we need,
Yeah.
what what things that we need to look out for ourselves. So that's what we're here for.
No, I love it. I love it. So for everyone who doesn't know, Mohammed, Relight Group, can you tell people that don't know, just briefly about your background, before you started your organization, what were you doing before that?
So before I started the company, I was working for government contractors, of
Right.
course, and I was serving customers. And fortunately, I was on site with the customer for the longest time.
Okay.
Before I started my company, I worked for almost 9 years in the industry. Then I went out and started my own business.
Nice, nice. And then again, I know your story, right? And your story, it took you 3 years to get a prime contract.
It took, close to 3 years. Yeah.
So what do you say for people listening to this? Because I think a lot of times they don't have perspective on that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? How did you feel during that time where you like, pull the mic to you.
All
There
right.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you feel during that time? Did you feel like, obviously you didn't quit, but did you feel like discouraged? Did you feel like, like they won't give you a chance? What was the feelings going through?
No, I think number one thing is patience. As I
Mhm.
mentioned before, GovCon is a long game.
Right.
It's not a quick win. And being a subcontractor is a good thing for learning the business and getting things off the ground. You don't have to be a prime contractor all the time.
Mm.
Get started, accumulate your past performance, and the best way to do it being a sub.
Right.
Of course, it's not that easy. You need to have good faith, good partners, trust. Then, you can be successful being a subcontractor. And that's still revenue coming in. That's still profit, right? That's
Yeah.
past performance. And it's showing that you are trusted, you are reliable, and you can deliver. So day one, nobody is going to put all that star on you, right?
Right.
They know you, they understand you. Okay, good, but let's deliver. Let's show the results, and then the prime contract will happen.
Right. Nice. So you have been trying for prime contracts during that period of time?
We have, but not that aggressively. We looked at, I would say, simplified acquisition,
Okay.
for
Okay.
example,
Yep.
right? Under what is it, $130,000 or something.
Yeah.
So that's simplified acquisition. So you can start there. That still quals as prime.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had one maybe with DLA out of nowhere. So you need to look for some of those little wins. That
Right.
I'm there. My account is getting set up with the agency. They can send me money as a prime. So those are baby steps.
Right.
And once you receive an ADA certification, for example, or if you are an SDVOSB company,
Okay.
is prime sole source contract. Those are the great way to start as a prime.
Right.
And other small businesses that I have seen being successful bidding on GSA schedule
Okay.
as prime. We were not so lucky using the GSA from the beginning.
Okay.
Our 8A vehicle was our key for our
Right.
prime contract.
Okay.
So that's what we deployed. So
Did you have any, did you work on any, because again, I'm a construction guy, you're in IT. Did you work on any specific programs like VMware or Cisco systems or any of those kind of programs, platforms?
not on platform. So again, we started from a PMO managing IT contracts, being a system integrator. So that's how we delved
Gotcha.
into the IT side of the business.
Okay.
Because that was my background personally. And I kind of piggyback on what I know.
Fair.
And once we started managing the contracts, we made our name. Then, of course, doing the IT work, customer trusted us,
Right.
and we took on operation work, IT management work, and actual IT delivery work.
So execution, and then you became authority.
Yeah.
Those are some of the concepts that we're talking about today with this particular session is, getting in there, first of all, letting people know who you are, right? Getting attention.
Yeah.
And I remember you have an interesting way that you were able to get people to notice you. You said you used to work inside of some of the facilities or the hallways.
Yeah, I mean, agencies, there's thousands of people,
Right.
right? And how do you get to know them? How do you get them to know you, right?
Yeah.
I want people to remember my face along with the name, right? So
Uh-huh.
whatever works, it just need to be in front of them and let them know repeatedly who you are, what you do. And the agency that I worked at the beginning, like I said, I was on site, luckily, based on the work that I was performing. So needed to be on the campus, needed to be badged. So when you are there, you're almost part of the team,
Right.
right? You're not sitting in Carolina or in the Minnesota or in the Midwest doing remotely. You are on the campus. You're walking the hall. You're going to the cafeteria, eating with them. So that makes it a little easy from an interaction perspective.
Sure.
And I mean, I had a cubicle when I was a contractor, but when I became independent,
Right.
I didn't have a cubicle, so the places to sit was on the sofas in the hallway or in the cafeteria, right? so,
Right.
so that was my office.
No, no. I like it because these are all very humbling stories.
Yeah.
And when we look at today where you're at and the success you've had, I like to go back to those stories, right? And I always say, people want to do what you do, not what you did.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we love sitting in our comfort of our homes, in our offices, at our desks, and maybe in our pajamas. But you're like, no, my desk was the cafeteria.
Yeah, you gotta be on the
sofa.
ground. You need to be on the ground.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not relevant.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And with a one-man company, you gotta be relevant by showing up. Yeah.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't stay one man very long.
No,
You
it
know.
didn't. It didn't. But thanks to God, we're for the right place with the right partners, opportunities. We're over 550 people in the company now.
Wow,
So,
550 people. Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thank you.
That's a huge accomplishment. Um, you know, how was that trajectory? Because, when I think about, by the way, I know it's like statistically, right? Companies over 500 people, that's like 1% of the businesses in the U.S. or something to that effect. So, how did that growth happen? Was it linear? Did you onboard 50 people one time? I know sometimes people get contracts that they onboard 50
Yeah.
new hires,
Mhm.
right? How did that growth happen?
I mean, it was progressive, right? So
Progressive.
for the first 5 years or 6 years, we were rapidly growing. Means we are almost doubling every year.
Okay.
And then when you are 300 or 400, then you cannot really double anymore, right?
Right.
Scale is an issue at that point, and also how do you manage, how do you deliver. So we diversified our portfolio from a client-based perspective. We did not just stay with one customer. We were very focused with one customer for, I would say, 5 years or 6 years period of our time, to continue to focus, continue to gather our past performance, create a name and reputation for ourselves. Then we looked outside that, okay, how can we transfer this knowledge somewhere else?
Right.
And that's another litmus test that I would say,
Right.
from a scale and survivability perspective, that now we can not just one agency contractor, we can scale to a different place, we can transfer our knowledge somewhere else. So that diversification helped us, and you need to have a team that can help you recruit the right people. You need to have partners who can bring this critical resource to the contract. So we always had good partners. We always teamed, and I would say that's one of the key factor. It's not a one person's game. You cannot do it all by yourself. You need to share the work. You need to build those partnership with others who can cumulatively come in and help grow the contracts.
Did you ever think that you would have 500 plus people?
I didn't, to be honest. I wanted, okay, if we stay as a small business, $40-50 million. Okay, we're making it. We're
Right.
we're there.
Yeah.
But when the growth happened, when opportunity came, you cannot say no to that, right? And you jump in and say, sure, I'll do it.
Right.
And that gives you the motivation, that gives you the confidence that, oh, okay, I'm at 50 million now.
Right.
And then, okay, 75 million is not that bad. Okay, 100 million, we're making it.
Right.
And then it becomes like, all right, now we're scaled. Now we have the firepower in the company to handle more, right? So
Right.
then you have the, your contract, your resource base is wide enough so that you can reinvest into the company on operationally, so that the company has that foundation to, once you're at $100 million threshold, going to $400-500 million, I think that makes it a little easy because operationally you're not really investing that much anymore.
Right.
But I think getting there, crossing that 100 million is a critical.
That's the critical juncture.
That's what I felt
Okay.
personally. Yeah.
When you were in the 8A program, did you get to the 100 million in the 8A program, or was it?
Yeah, when we were in the 8A program. So we graduated out of the 8A program. The year that we graduated, I think we are about 120 million that year from a revenue size.
Okay.
So we graduated 2 years early because of our revenue threshold. So we outdid ourselves and got kicked out.
Got kicked out. You're the second person that I've heard that I know of that's happened to them. I'm sure there's more stories, but you're the second one that I know of that's happened to them. And what's interesting about that is I hear a lot of people saying, I want to stay small. I want to stay small.
Yeah.
So they want to try to not pass that threshold,
But it's a strategy.
Right.
It is definitely a strategy. And if you plan ahead of time in terms of your contract vehicle, the recertification time, you can grandfathered in for a couple of years, even if you graduate, right? And for us, we had maybe 1 year, year and a half, like a runway. We could have planned better, but what is done is done.
Yeah, sure.
So those are some of the things when I look back that, okay, maybe I should have invested more early enough so that the projection for us to move into the full and open happens sooner than what we are right now. So those are some of the, I would say it's really a good calculation and planning, and look at what contracts you have, when they're going to expire, when the recertification happens, and what number that you need to be in.
Right.
So a lot of math and a lot of calculations, but we grow so fast, I think we missed that finite calculation. So
I think that's okay. You got a different problem.
yeah. So we all make our own mistakes, right? And that's all okay.
I think you have an okay problem here.
Yeah.
So what would you tell people that are listening to this, that are in your shoes where you are when you start? Like, what kind of things would you tell them that they should could be doing? Maybe some of the mistakes that you see that are happening when people approach you.
Yeah, one thing I see a lot of time, people pull the 8A certification trigger too fast.
Okay.
That is the only certification that has a time clock.
Right.
For a set-aside perspective. Others don't. Like women-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned, those certifications doesn't have any clock. But 8A has a clock.
Right.
So what I have seen, a lot of people go get the certification, but then wait for 5-6 years and not getting any prime contract.
Right.
And by the time they have the momentum, they run out, right? So it's a tricky situation. Okay, when do you really want to pull that trigger? And my advice to those who are looking for 8A certifications, particularly, I'm not talking about the other ones, it's very time sensitive. You really have to calculate and see what are the opportunities that you have lined up. So by the time that you get your certification, the same year, you can have a prime contract. And if you don't, then it becomes really challenging down the road to play catch up.
Love it. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, Mom, appreciate you, man. Thank you, sir, for coming today. If you could, we're going to close out this session here.
Yeah.
I want you to hang around a little bit. We're going to do a round table.
Sure.
Okay? All
Okay,
right. Go make
all
the
right.
phone calls or something like
No
that.
problem.
Hey, man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, brother. I hate I can't get up and hug everybody. It just, I feel terrible that I can't get up and hug. What up?
What's going on? It's
How
on
are
pause.
Huh?
It's on pause.
No, it's live.
Is it?
Yeah, we're live streaming.
All right.
What's going on? I
They
feel
didn't give me a
terrible.
warning or anything.
Oh, they didn't offer you the water? Okay.
No warning. Oh, I'm good.
Oh, warning. No, we got a live feed, constant.
Oh, hi everybody.
I've been streaming since 12 noon.
Have you?
Yeah, I haven't ate, no bathroom breaks, nothing. They just
Oh,
put me in front of.
super. You in front of military. You all right?
Oh,
Suck it up.
yeah.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Suck it up, buttercup. Put your mic to your mouth. There you go.
All right.
All right, so today we're talking about scaling certifications, and I know you've had your perspective on things,
Yes.
and some experiences. I want to pull everybody's experience. Obviously, we talk about you've scaled your business,
Mhm.
right? Did certifications play a role? Did they help you? Did they hurt you? Did they hinder you? Kind of tell us. First of all, introduce yourself. Obviously, Venus. Who you are and your
Yes.
company Launch Tech. But I'll let you.
Okay, so my name is Venus Quates. I'm president and CEO of Launch Tech, where we're solving the present and launching the future. That's our slogan. But we are experts at navigating critical technology infrastructure. So I'm a little bit different than most GovCons most small GovCons, because we operate in the federal, state, and commercial sector. And so we help them modernize, optimize, and secure their technical infrastructure. So we do that by offensive and defensive cyber, enterprise IT solutions, software development, etc. So.
You people are too smart for me.
Oh.
I'm a dumb construction guy.
That
I
is
don't
not.
know. I don't know any of this
We
stuff.
do that too, pre and post construction IT.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Pre and post construction.
Somebody got to lay those cables
All
too,
right.
right?
Nice. Inc. 5,000 winner multiple times over. Again, we're talking today specifically about people, and I always say this because I did not tell nobody to get no certification, so I didn't tell them to go do it, but they done did it now.
That's the playbook.
Right,
When
they
you
done-
do GovCon 101 or any 101, it always tells you to get the certifications.
Right, they told you to get it. So now all these people listening, they don't
Mhm.
went and did this stuff. So now, what do you want to say to them?
I did it too.
Okay, you did it too. All right, you
I did
did
it too. That's what it said on the paper,
Uh-huh.
right? When
Uh-huh.
you want to start the business. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, happened to check a bunch of boxes. I was a career technologist. I've been in business or been in technology 20 years before I started. On paper, I started in 2016, and I was a data storage architect working for a financial services organization. Started in the military, did my time in GovCon as well. And then afterward, I went commercial. I was a nerd. I wanted to touch all the things. And at the time, like 08, 07, the government wasn't modernizing like they are now. And so I just knew I was getting the Vetpreneur magazine and all these cool I was like, oh, these people are killing it in GovCon. And so I did that. I went state, I knew state and commercial. So I got all of the certs in all the sectors at the time. And I just knew, GovCon. I didn't realize there was more. Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
I didn't know the more. I didn't, keep up with all the relationships that I once had on the government contracting side of the house. And so I was left with a bunch of certs. But our very first contract we got, I happened to be in the right place at the right time. There was a large workforce training center. At the time I started my business in Buffalo, New York. And there was something called the Buffalo Billion. So the governor had allotted a large number of funds to revitalize Buffalo, New York. And part of that was building a workforce training center that taught mechatronics and all these other welding, all these other things. And they targeted like inner city and rural area people, right?
Okay.
To take them from what was considered poverty to making $60,000 a year and all these things, which was like,
That's great.
unprecedented,
Yeah.
right? And so right place, the right time, just happened to meet someone that was in position there. And he was like, you own a technology company? And I said, yes. And he's like, okay, minority woman. He's like, you're a veteran too? Yes. Are you certified? Yes. And he's like, we're closing this opportunity tomorrow for an IT managed service provider. Can you come and pitch? It was already like 9:00 p.m. So,
Wow.
I went home and I created an entire presentation with no sleep, all that stuff.
There you go. I love
Like,
it.
please send me the RFP. Like,
I love it.
I pitched at like 8:00 the next day, and we won our first contract. It was a state contract. And so, minority, woman, and service disabled veteran. But, that part got me in the door, but my capabilities are what, won me the opportunity.
Where were you at when you met them?
I was at an event for,
Just, I read them.
yeah, there was a event that celebrated those who did the boomerang thing. So they may have left the city and come back, and they're doing great
Okay.
things in the city.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so an assemblywoman had the event.
Nice.
Yeah.
But most of us, and
Mhm.
I said this right before everyone came on today, is that we're sitting around, and like you said, you got the opportunity. Like, oh, you could have said, nah, you know what? I'll work on it another
I
time.
don't know.
You were hungry.
Hungry. So certs are great. That capability, second, and that hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you had to respond and have it ready, and
It was going to be tight. And if anybody has worked for me or worked with me next to me before, they know I'm all about things looking right, or I'm not coming. Or we're not going to be there if it's not right. So
okay. So they gave you opportunity. Did you, like they call it land and expand? Did you expand that contract with that group, or
I
was that just
did. So it started off as managed services once I got in and absolutely proved myself. And, we were just starting out. So I did the thing you do when you first start. You don't know how to bid, price and anything else. So I very much so underbid. And so I was like, Jesus Christ, I left my job, was living off savings at the time, and I was paying myself and others to be on this contract because we were making $2, $2 a month off this contract. And so, again, certs are fantastic, but you need to know all of these things, right? And so the things they don't teach you, making sure your back office and operations and your pricing down pat, all these things. Certification is probably number 1 through 5 on the paper.
Yes.
None of these things were mentioned at all, ever.
mentioned at all. No.
And so, we came in and did a great job. Tech is in my blood, so of course we did that. Once we showed what we could do and they trusted us, we did some of everything. And so it expanded really well. And then, I renegotiated. That didn't go over well. And so we moved on to other things.
Didn't go over well.
Yeah.
No. It's interesting. I've had several of my students where I've had to renegotiate their contracts. So it seems like a common thing that happens with small businesses when they're first getting out. They're like, you're like, oh yeah, I got this big contract, and you just sign it, and then they're like, Eric, I'm losing money. This is my worst contract. Takes all my time, makes me the least amount of money.
All your money. I was literally, like you see me today, in 5-inch heels, in the floor on the check-in, because I could only hire, but so, I had to hire what I could afford.
Right.
And I knew what skill set was required to complete the job, but I knew I wasn't making a lot of money. And so I had to go behind everybody and make sure they were doing the right thing and the right job. And so I walk in like this, taking my heels off and make sure that worked. The cabling was done, everything. We built labs. We did some of everything on that project.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you went in there and made sure they had the cable and
Oh, it
everything.
had to be right. My name was on it. It was very highly publicized. So the mayor was over the project. Like, it was a really big project. Yeah.
Wow. Well, like I said, I guess you start. How did you learn to start pricing correctly?
When I started looking at all the work I was doing and showing up and all these things, and we didn't have any money left at the end of the day, I was just seeing my bank account just dwindle. And I was like, oh, I got to figure this out. So, just went on the internet. I think my first and second employees were Google and God, not in that order.
Okay.
And so I went to Google and God and I asked them, how do I do this thing? How do I price where I can, increase my margin and actually make $1 out of 15 cents, right? Not anymore, but make some real money. And so I figured it out, and I asked other people that were doing the same thing. And I think that's one thing we don't do often. For me, it was I didn't want to bother anybody, not because I had ego, and so I had to, because I wanted to sustain this. And going, my plan B through Z was to continue with plan A and figure this out, right? Yeah.
No, it's interesting. Steve Jobs had a quote that said that, he's never sent out a CEO or someone that he's reached out to and asked for help that did not help him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times we are afraid to ask, but I don't know what
yeah.
we think or believe that people are gonna say to us.
You know, for me, 100%, it was not wanting to bother people, but I got really smart. And I remember being at an event. CDC was one of my targets. And
Okay.
so I would fly always. I was in Atlanta so much, people thought I lived there. And I was flying to an event. It was an event with CDC and a few others. And I think it was NCMA Atlanta. And so I was at this event. I heard a CEO speaking. He had done well in GovCon. And so I waited for him to get off of this stage. I Googled who this was. I was like, wow, he's been successful. And I just waited outside that door. I didn't stalk him, because that's not,
Right,
we don't
exactly.
stalk.
We don't
The
stalk.
finesse is you wait,
Okay.
right? I
All right.
waited.
You waited for him.
And I asked him, like, hey, I don't know if you're on your way somewhere. Can I buy a piece of your time? And so I wanted to ask, and I always ask CEOs what they did wrong. If they started 10 years, 15 years prior to me, the climate was different,
Right.
the situation might have been different, but I can always learn from your mistakes. And so that's what I started to do.
Wow.
Mhm.
I like that. Okay. What other things that you would tell people that some of the tricks and for the trade that you've learned that maybe can help some people coming behind us?
So, we're in a different day and age right now, right?
Mhm.
And some of the certifications that we have may not be as popular as others. I know we used to be HUBZone certified, and, that's probably one of the hardest to keep, just so many things. And so eventually, very within the near future, we want to exit. And so if you really understand, it's about, someone just passed me a book actually, and it was talking about being an entrepreneur or an investor. And so I always knew that I wanted to sell, and the decisions that I was making, like saying no to things, were with the end goal in mind, right? And so same with certifications. They're fantastic. I just met with an owner yesterday, 2 days ago, because I'm on the market to acquire.
Okay.
And so he kept mentioning 8A, service disabled, 8A, service disabled. I'm like, those, don't hold weight when you're acquiring a company if you don't have any contracts under
Right.
those vehicles, because they are attached to the person, not the business.
Correct.
And so just making sure his expectations match reality. And that's the thing we need to do. It's about partnership. I think I would leverage partnerships now. If you can't get in the door with the certifications, just because you have them, people don't owe you anything. And I think that is the expectation sometimes. Most people get 8A and think just, if you build it, they will come. And that's not how that works. We've been more successful with others than we have with an 8A certification. As long as
I think that's a great point. One of the things that we mentioned today is like, again, it depends on the clients, right? And
It
the
does.
clients, your customers that you're working with. And also, I did give that example about someone saying, hey, they thought because they were a good company and they had a cert that somebody would come running over to come.
Because they will find you.
Like we're
They're going to
just
go
run
through the
over
list of these 1,000
know?
people and just find
Right.
you.
And yeah, they gotta, yeah.
Yeah.
Out of 7,000
Right.
businesses that have these certificates, they just thought like they're gonna come knocking on my door, and I think that again that's the case. With a lot of people is that we assume that.
Yeah, I mean, marketing is something you always are going to have to do in conversation, no matter who you're talking to. You never know. I always, most of the time, if I'm on a flight in or out of DC, I always have my launch tech hat on the plane.
Like it.
Most of the time, people, especially depending on where you sit in the aisle or sit in the front, and people are looking,
Yeah, well, I mean, launch tech would catch my attention.
Nah.
And I'm like, what's launch tech?
I mean, if you're in the industry, maybe you'll look it up,
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do that. I'm searching like,
Yep.
okay, I see. Nice. So what are your plans now for the next couple of years?
So in the very near future, we are definitely on the market to acquire. So that will happen very soon.
Okay.
I won't go into detail, but
Oh.
we will have closed very, very soon on at least one, maybe two. And so using that to accelerate our growth. This year has been really challenging for myself and others, but there's opportunity in it. And so I'm just being prepared for that.
As we're closing out here, I know a lot of people listening, they want to sit in your shoes.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned to him, people want to do what you do, not what you did. What are some of you mentioned climbing on the floor, checking on your people, losing money in some deals. You know, all those things, shape your story.
Mm-hmm.
They shape my story, right? But they're not fun.
Right.
They're
They're necessary.
Huh?
They're necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just close out along that line, that theme.
So, in any event, I always say this: I had racehorse blinders on. I looked at what my end goal was. I didn't look at, the roadblock to the right or the left. I just focused forward because that's where I was trying to go. And so, in the midst of having all these certifications, understand that's not a replacement for having your back office together, being smart about pricing and your money, and also marketing your business. That capability, when somebody does give you an opportunity, you need to be ready to deliver.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come help you out.
Thank you.
Don't run off. We're going to the round table next. Just hang out. We got one more. All right. Now we're cooking. Uh-oh. What happened, my friend? You got hurt? Oh. Well, thank you for coming, even though you were hurt.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Okay. I think I'm good.
You think you're good? All right, mic's check.
Testing.
Testing.
Turn it up for me because I'm a soft-spoken person.
Yeah. We good on her mic?
You good on my mic?
Maybe pull it closer to her.
How about that?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
How are you, love?
I'm doing wonderful.
It's funny people been asking about you. I don't know what you done did.
Oh.
You got my people asking about you on here. They say when Eric get there, ask her, about, I don't even know the question no more. They had it on the computer. I don't have no screen, so I can't see it. But I know
get the question so we can get it answered.
I am. Brandon, grab the computer so we can ask the question they asked me to ask her when she came here. Someone they specifically asked. Let me see if we can get this question asked. So we can get it. While we're doing that, why don't you go ahead, for the people that do not know you,
Sure.
To our audience, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please? And then we'll grab this question. So
Okay. How much of an introduction do you want me to give?
we only have 20 minutes.
Okay.
We got.
I'll do this.
They
I'll
gonna
do
kick me out
the
the
short
studio at 5
version.
o'clock. and we
Okay. Okay. So Erica Dobbs, CEO of Dobbs Defense Solutions. We've been in business now for 6 years. And so I've been leading charge as the CEO of Dobbs. Prior Navy, retired Navy after 36 and a half years in the military. So background is IT, cyber, and, networks as well. And so I've been in the field for just a little over 40 years. And so that's the resident knowledge that we bring to the table as a team.
Love it. One thing that you mentioned that I know of about your story, we've talked a couple times, is that you said that when you came into starting your business, that you always were able to work on the business and you never had to be billable.
Correct.
Can you just kind of shine some light on that for people listening? What that means? What happens? Like, what do other people do differently as opposed to what you did? Or what do you do differently than other people normally do?
I think it would help me to focus on the business and not have to be billable was the fact that I was retired. So this is my second career. I've already had a career. And so starting the business was my way of continuing to give back in the sector that I came out of at the DoD side. And so with that being said, I was able to support myself. And then I took my assets that I actually were making from my retirement to help take Dobbs to the next level.
That's I like that because people are afraid to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And when they see you and they say, well, Erica, she didn't have to do that. Okay, she just told you what she did. Yeah, she didn't have to do that because she took her resources and applied it, but no one didn't give you anything.
Yeah. So I tried to get help.
Okay.
I want to make sure that's clear.
Okay.
I did try to get help,
right.
But so I, in this day and time, we don't really talk about the term called redlining, but that's what happened to me, and so I was refused funding, and so with that being said, I had to make a decision within myself about my dream. I learned that when you're starting on this journey called entrepreneurship, no one cares about your dream but you. And so you have to decide if the nodes are going to determine where you land, or if you're going to create your own destiny by letting the nodes be your vitamins to take you to the next level. And so remember I told you I started my company with a jar of spare change. And so I decided that the nose was not going to hold me back. And so I took that jar of spare change that I had, and I took Dobbs into the next phase of being in business.
I love that. I love that. You got the question? Hold on. He's going to bring me the question up.
The question was, I want to know what emerging technologies or trends she believes will most disrupt or benefit her industry.
There you go.
Yeah, so I think the most emerging technology will be quantum, to be honest. A lot of people are focusing on AI, but AI is not a new phenomenon. It's just the way that we use it today. And so I think that a lot of people are missing the boat on quantum.
Now, one thing that you also mentioned before, we've talked because we've had several conversations. You actually in the military, then you work on ships.
Yes, I was on 2 ships. I was on the USS, well, actually 3 ships. I was on the 2 aircraft carriers. I was on the USS Harry S. Truman, USS Theodore Roosevelt, and then I was on the USS Merrimack. So I served on 3 Navy vessels. I am a war veteran, so I served in the middle of the war. The last war I served on, I was on the Harry S. Truman, so I was in the Iraqi War.
Something else that you mentioned that sticks with me all the time is just like, Eric, a lot of this stuff, the technology, this has been around a long time. They just changed names.
They just changed
See,
names.
I even remember people be saying, like, this stuff stays in my brain.
Yes.
Okay? All this stuff stays in my brain. So talk to us, because we think all this technology is brand new.
It's not. It's just recycled. And you have to think about, with time, you learn how to do things differently. And so you have, and I love the new phenomenon with the new generation that's coming in today, because some of them, they're much smarter, right? And so they can take what we did in the past and expound it to make it better. And that's what's really taking place right now today. It's not that we have new technology, we're just taking what's in place and expanding it to another way of doing business. And that's what has taken place over the years. Think about it. We started out with teletypes. Someone took that teletype and took it to a computer.
Right.
And so that's what they're doing today with the same thing with technology, is that it's just evolving into a new way of doing it, but it's not something that's grandiose or new.
Interesting. Again, how do you get people, like, how did you start hiring people? How do you get people to come want to work for you and support you?
So that's a good question, because I think that what most people miss is that people only work for leaders that they trust, right? And so for me, out of the gate, I started with 4 employees. Like, I never had to put myself on contract. So I had sailors and other employees that sought me out to actually come work for me. Wow. So when I first started my business, Dobbs started with 4 employees out of the gate.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was in a training class, to be honest with you. So I retired out of DISA, and I was in a training class at one of the CompTIA classes that we were in, and I was sharing with they asked you, what are you going to do when you get out and things like that, and I was sharing that I was going to start my own company, and one of my classmates in that class said, hey, if you start a company, I want to come work for you, and that person came to work for me.
Wow.
So he's one of my when you count your number 1, 2, or 3, 4 employees, he was my number 1 employee.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's great. We discussed earlier today about building like a moat around your business and set yourself from the competition. You mentioned CompTIA. Are there any other types of certification outside of the socioeconomics that might help some people coming into the space that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think that individuals should look at your corporate certifications. Like you can look at, everybody's looking at the like woman-owned 8A and all that. But what makes you more credible is having your corporate certifications, like looking at the CMMI model, like your ISOs, the industry standard models. If you're looking to do business not just in the DoD sector, but in any sector, then I would say you want to look at the ISO standards for your business and what aligns with your service model.
Do you specifically have any certs with any different platforms like VMware, Rubrics, or any of those types of platforms?
No, I don't have those. We actually do more services.
Okay.
As a company. I'm not a software company,
Okay.
but we do. We actually issue hardware or provide hardware to our clients, but I'm not a software developer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we support software services. Like we actually can do the testing on it. We actually help you with the migration of it.
Okay.
But I'm not a software developer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just always ask because again, I'm learning and I'm always a student and I'm studying and I'm asking because sometimes these things have crossovers and I'm not always sure.
Yeah.
how.
So at some point we do want that's the objective for the business.
Okay.
At some point, we do have one of our corporate certs we do have is in the CMMI model for services and development. So we like to do more in the research side of it as opposed to like software development piece. I like to actually be at the forefront when it's actually coming into play.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Is there, again, I know you mentioned that the corporate certs make a difference, but again, people already have these federal certs. What are some of the things that you're seeing? Because again, I know you sit on different boards for different organizations
Yes.
nationally. I see you at all these national events. So I'm sure that people coming at you and they're telling you things all the time. What are you hearing that you're like, I wish you wouldn't say that, or maybe, maybe phrase it differently, or just some of the common things that people are saying that you would maybe change a little bit.
That's a dicey question to be
I
asking
know
in
it's
this
dicey.
environment,
I
Eric.
know. Well, I'm talking about the small business, not the federal government.
Okay.
I'm talking about the small
Yeah,
business.
I mean,
we love the federal government. We love all the government agencies. We're never gonna say nothing bad about the federal government.
Well, honestly, I think that what people should stop saying is that small businesses are going away because we're not going away. I think that individuals should not focus on the rhetoric that's out about, the woman on the 8A, the veteran, the HUBZone piece, because at some point it's going to all come back online the right way.
Right.
But I think now that a lot of it is just rhetoric with what's not going to work and things like that. But I'll tell you that maybe like 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call and one of my colleagues said to me, she said, because she's on the Hill, and she said, Erica, she said, don't listen to what's being said. They're still doing contracts for every socioeconomic set aside, and the government is still open for business. And I can tell you that I'm still getting RFPs for the same socioeconomic set asides. That's all I can tell you. So at least somebody is doing that work, and they're still looking for that. So I would tell you that some of it is just smoke and mirrors, right?
No, I agree 100%. We just picked up some sole source contracts right before the fiscal year ended.
Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. No, because like you said, a lot of people are discouraged.
Yeah.
And like myself previously, lived far away from the Beltway. So, we only hear what we see on TV. We don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the community and I'll be more immersed in what's happening. I don't know. I'll be going to Capitol Hill, nothing like that. But I'll be here close enough so I can hear from third parties. Like, y'all go to the Hill.
Okay.
Y'all come back and give me the information. Y'all give me the scoop.
Sure.
But no, so, like they were saying a lot of that stuff before, right? But we've seen differently now that some legislation's come out,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, if you're in a joint venture, it's a good thing too.
Okay, tell us more.
The joint ventures are going to be, a part of the process for small businesses. I think a lot of people frown upon them, but I think they're good for you because it helps you to show credibility where you don't really have it. And more importantly, it helps you to advance your business to the next level in a lot of aspects as well. So I think the joint ventures are good. I think a lot of times some businesses dismiss getting on vehicles. And so I think that, if the opportunity presents itself, then you should look at what vehicle is going to help me advance my business to the next level. I'm not saying establishing your business to the point where you're on every vehicle, but you want to be strategic about the ones that you do get on.
Right.
And if it's a client that you're targeting and that they have a vehicle that's available, then you should try to go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have you, one of the things I mentioned before is like land and expand. Are you working with 20 agencies, 20 offices? You're working with 5? I mean, you have a pool that you work from?
I'm not going to tell you that.
I'm not going to tell me. I don't know who. I don't want to know who they are.
I'm working with, I I would say
as a strategy? I mean, you could talk about it in general, just kind of.
yeah. So I went back to the community of where I came from, to
Okay.
be honest with you, because I know that domain, and so I just decided to shift my focus from trying to venture into agencies that I really didn't have the relationships in,
Yep.
because like it or not, relationships are key in this
Okay.
environment, and so I have decided to go back to the intelligence community where I came out of, and so that's where I'm focused on for the agencies. So
No.
it's a very, very close-knit agency.
Yeah. I know that they're talking about, again, some of the moving everything to GSA. What do you know about that? You know
So
any more than anybody else?
I was gonna say, like, I don't know any more than anybody
There you
else.
go.
I do know that I think this was like happening in 2019 when you really go back to think about it.
Right.
Because when I first started my business, everything was, do you have a GSA schedule?
Yeah.
And I didn't have one at the time. And so to me, it's just like a reciprocal process, right? And so it's just coming back full circle again, where you have to be on the GSA schedule. I think that a lot of times as a business, you dismiss the GSA schedule, but it's a really good platform, piece to get into as far as like having a vehicle, because the fact that you've already competed for pricing, so all you need to do is like market yourself and you can get sorts of awards using your GSA mass.
I agree. Yeah. No, I had Emily Murphy on the show before, and she talked about, a lot of the good that GSA's been doing.
Yeah,
with small
they're a great
businesses.
organization. I don't want to bash them. I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
When I first started out to get on GSA mass, I know a lot of people pay for
Yeah.
consultants to
Yeah.
get them on GSA schedules. And I will tell you that I didn't do that. Like when I first got my GSA schedule,
Uh-huh.
the GSA team helped me. Like most people don't realize that they have a team that will help you get on your schedule. So I pay absolutely nothing to get on GSA mass.
That's great information to share. I have found it's just hard, like a lot of these groups don't market themselves, so you don't hear about the stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
on
do-
their website. If you read,
well,
all you gotta do is read a little bit.
y'all hear that? So I encourage people to read, take in
Yeah.
information.
Especially if you're IT company, they have a program called Springboard. That's what I use. So Springboard, you can, if you're a startup and you want to get on GSA schedule, all you need is your resume.
Boom, love it. I love it. Can you talk about any of the veterans programs? I know there's some good
Sure.
programs
Which
as well
ones?
for veterans.
Which one?
I know you've talked about Novova before.
So I
you said
sit on the
Veterans
board for
Conference.
VIP.
Yep.
I sit on the board for Veterans to the Procurement and the National Veterans Small Business Coalition. So I'm on those two boards.
Okay.
Both of them are really good. The NVSBC board that I'm on, they do the Vets Conference every year,
Mhm.
and the monthly dinners and training. And so it's an avenue for business development. The VIP is a completely different model. It actually brings you in and you spend about a week with them, and they show you how to do business. And what they do is they give you like a GovCon 101 training, and it gives you the resources and reach back to a team that could actually take you to the next level. Like that's what I went through to help me with my business.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of success stories come out of there.
It's a great program.
How much does it cost?
It's free.
There you go.
Everything I do is free. Don't ask me nothing. I'm not paying no money for anything. What I do is free. If it ain't, because you're struggling. I
No.
call being a startup company like a starving artist, right?
Uh,
You don't have no money to give anybody,
Yeah.
so you need to find anything that's free.
all right. No, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, we're coming up to our end of our time today.
Sure.
So why don't you close out some parting words for the people listening?
Like give me some ideas that you talk to me about so much.
I know we've covered a gamut. I mean,
Yeah.
I think for me, like I said, not being close to this area, I just never knew all of the different facets of contracts. So I'm learning personally, like how many different areas of contracts and agencies and offices, like
Sure.
how big it is, right? And I think that what I, as a small business, saw was what most people saw, like the stuff that's noise, right? It's like, there's opportunities here. I'm like, no, there's when I looked at energy, I mean, they have their own set of rules and
Yeah.
platforms. So it's just the massive scale. So if you, I guess more of like, if you find yourself stuck here, like there's 25 other doors that
Yeah.
can potentially open for you.
Okay, I'll share this with you. When you said that, I was like, one thing I'm grateful for is my advisors and my mentors that I've had.
Okay.
And so, if you don't have a advisor or mentor as a small business on an entrepreneur journey, you should get one. And then listen to what they tell you, right? So, in the beginning, I was like all over the place as well, listening to other people, trying to go to other states and, just flying all over the country. And one of my advisors, we were having lunch, and he said, "Hey, kiddo, why?" I'm like, "Why what?" He said, "Why are you everywhere? Like, stop." And I was like, I'm confused. He said, "You live in the DMV. Every agency is here. Why are you flying everywhere? Stay at home in your own backyard and build relationships here. And then once you navigate that and master it, then think about going somewhere else." So I would say to the businesses that are on the call, stay at home, build constructive relationships. Once you've done that, then venture out, because staying home helps you to mature. Because in the beginning, you're not mature. You're just selling the same story, but you don't really know what you're talking about a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so stay where you are and then grow that way, as opposed to trying to be all over the place, because you don't succeed that way.
Yeah, right.
Got to stay focused.
Love it. Thank you so much. That's awesome. All right, everyone.
Am I done?
Yes, you're done. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to close out these people real quick.
Am I done?
Yes, you're done. They're going to escort you off. And then Brandy can walk over. Yeah, over there to the table. All right, everyone. Well, listen, this has been great, and thank you so much. We're going to continue, and we're going to do a little roundtable discussion with the last three speakers. And again, for any of those who have questions, you've got our emails, you've got our phone numbers, you've got our contact information there. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed the last 4 hours with us. We were excited about the future of government contracting. Yeah, we're excited about the opportunities that exist. And then we look forward to connecting with you in the future, connecting with you guys in upcoming conferences, events, and mastermind sessions. So thanks, guys. And with that, we can wrap it up.